Does anyone else miss that sweet, sweet spice addiction? Well, we're back today, and we've got ourselves some brand new Dune Spice Wars. You know, brand new players, as it were. Now, the game has been the same as it's been for a while. Of course, our dear favorite game has stopped receiving any updates, but that doesn't mean people have stopped playing it. No, no, no. We've got a brand new crop of beginners. So today we are bringing to you our, I'm really borrowing someone else's. It's the Circuit Discord community has organized a beginners tournament for all of us Dune Spice Wars enthusiasts. So somehow they've managed to scrape together at least 16 brand new players. They gave them a month or so of training time. They offered a number of sort of expert coaches to be able to jump in on training sessions and provide guides and strategy and hands-on coaching so that we can get our beginners up to snuff. And now for the entertainment, for your entertainment, we're gonna make them fight each other today. I want a good, clean fight, lads. Or not. I'm not your dad. All right. Yeah, we gotta. So so this is organized again through the Circuit Discord, which is a group that sort of keeps alive the Dune Spice Wars scene. I think a lot of this was organized by Misa Like Pie and Cream the Legend, and probably some other folks. There's a whole bunch of different casters and streamers working today, so you could check out different folks who's out and about. I think Cream the Legend on Twitch. I think Haxar is probably on Twitch. I don't know if Misa Likes Pie streams himself. He might be joining Haxar. I think some other people are. There's all kinds of folks. Look for some Dune Spice Wars and you'll find it today. Or if you'd like to stay here, we'll be streaming all day. We're gonna have at least 2 matches, and the first one is underway. Hope you're ready for some spicy wars, folks. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's great to have you here. It's good to be back. And yeah, excited to see what we got. Excited to see. So our last beginners tournament was a really great one. Who came out of that? I think it was, let me look it up real quick. Was it Legend? I Am Legend on Vernius. I think one of our Lady Spicers came in and really wrecked that tournament. Did an incredible job on Vernius. Really showed how strong that Purple Menace can be these days. And we're in. I think we're in. Hopefully everyone connects properly. Good luck, have fun. All right, we're underway. Who have we got today? We've got House Harkonnen led by Lobster. I was told by some people that Lobster might be the most promising of the beginners. We'll see how that goes. We've got Shockwave on the Smugglers, Coy over on Earl Rhombus and House Vernius, and Crix on my favorite, the Archduchess Armanda Ikaz. Should be a good one. Look at this interesting layout. We've got a very centrally located Harkonnens and a Vernius pretty nestled back on their own with a lot of space. Ooh, Vernius loves some space. Looks like a lot of spice fields over there for Vernius too. Oof, could be a spicy Vernius game. Up top we've got the Smugglers looking like they've got a lot of space to work with. The Harkonnens a bit centrally located and not necessarily a ton of room to work with, as well as a desolation in their backfield. And maybe a little space constrained as well as our ECAS. But let's take a deep dive into some of this stuff. First up, our Harkonnens, led by Lobster. He's opted for Uman Kudu, extra manpower, faster recruitment time, extra armor for Harkonnen units with an operation in the area. He's also got Fade Routha Harkonnen, the Na Baron. Can use corruption in the Landsrat, and when at least one village is being oppressed, boosts up your agent recruitment speed significantly and a decent buff to your influence production as well. As expected, he's grabbed his first spice field. Little agent recruitment time. Ooh, former smugglers is actually a huge pickup for the Harkonnens because the Harkonnens do so much. What's up, Phelan? Thanks for joining, buddy. Because the Harkonnens do so much pillaging, they have a very pillage-heavy economy. Starting off with a plus 10% resources from pillaging, right on your as a quirk, right on your very first territory here. That's actually a pretty big one. That's nice. That's going to account for a lot of extra money over the course of the game. Pretty solid quirk pickup for them. Obviously, one spice, we do have the Worm Nest, the fancy spice. Worm Nest is notable because it gives an extra 25% spice in that region, so it's a supercharged spice field. So 1 spice, 2 spice, probably a 3 spice, maybe a 4 spice above them, although that's a little equidistant between smugglers, so you never know what's going to happen with that one. At least 3 spice, potentially 4 for the Harkonnens. That's not bad, and especially with the Worm Nest, they could work with that. Not great quirks on the Worm Nest, and not particularly great quirks on... Well, they do get another pillage one up top, so that's not too bad. But, yeah, so we've got the Worm Nest, and there's that Sandfall. 2 very safe special regions nestled behind the Harkonnen lands. That's pretty good for them. Unfortunately, they've got the Desolation up top. I've mentioned before, the Desolation is not ideal. We gotta watch out, we got some Worm Sign coming down here. He's okay. The Desolation is not ideal because it is basically a special region. Special regions are important because they give you an extra 1,000 hegemony when you take them, so they're critical for any sort of hegemony victory. But when it's the Desolation, you can't take it. It's just a big, horrible desert that no one can move through, and it, you know, you're kind of, the map gen is keyed up to give you 3 or 4 special regions in your area, your little slice of the pie here. And if one of your special regions spawns as a Desolation, it's like spawning without a special region. So that's a bad thing. We don't like that. But otherwise, reasonably decent. Down south, there is a space cruiser wreck. It's pretty close to Ikaz lands, but it could conceivably be Harkonnen, or at least contested here. Space cruiser is a pretty good one. Gives you the extra spaceship parts to work with. Not too bad, and of course they're very close to the center, and a very favorable village placement on the Polar Sink as well, meaning that that's probably a Harkonnen village there. So they actually have some nice stuff to work with. I'm revising it from pretty decent up to good. I like it. Hey Klaxon, welcome everybody in the chat. Thanks for joining, folks. We're doing some beginners tournament on the Spice Wars. Let's rotate up and take a look at Shockwave on the smugglers up here. Shockwave opted for Staban Tuic, gives you an extra underworld extension slot, and the famous Stakhanov. If you control a territory that does not have any neighboring regions controlled, then it takes 100% longer to siege, makes 20% more resources, and if you lose it, it refunds 50% of the authority. Or maybe that refunds 50% of the authority anytime you lose a region. Yeah, when any village is lost anyway. Yeah, Stakhanov rather, very cool. You do kind of have to play around it uniquely, so sometimes what you see with Stakhanov play is they'll just take an isolated region and not take the stuff around it, because that's the way to trigger that Stakhanov buff. So you don't really build much of a big, empire as all the other factions do. You rather have like a little enclave over here and a little one over here and a little one over here. So you sometimes a smuggler empire is very light on actual number of regions, and then they just march through all the intervening regions and pillage them for money. We do have a very interesting no spice opening. So he opened by grabbing the energy source. He did not take his natural spice right off the bat, though he's getting it now. Almost done. I wonder if that's some mega big brain play there. I don't think I would recommend it for a beginner, but maybe. We got a lot of units on the field as well. I'm a little concerned. How's his economy looking? He's still in the green. Okay, he's got a lot of guys going. Spice finally gets captured. So 1 spice here, another spice to the east. So 1 spice, 2 spice. There's a spice to the west. That was the one that we talked. There's sort of contested between Harkonnens. The region's closer to the smugglers, but the village is kind of closer to the Harkonnen side. Could go either way. And then down here near the middle, there is a spice field as well, but that's very middle. I mean, even the Harkonnens could kind of take that one, but it's technically on the smuggler sort of pie slice here. We'll see. Over to the east is another spice field, but also that one's probably more likely to be a Vernius. We'll see. We shall see. Up here, so 1 spice, at least 2 spice, and then like 3 maybe contested spice fields for the smugglers. Smugglers, however, don't necessarily care too much about spice. They can make an insane spice income, but there's a lot of other ways to play smugglers, primarily the pillaging. And a private mandate coming up right off the bat is very good, probably for the Harkonnens. Harkonnens are going to put some stink on it with Fade. That's going to give minus Landsrad standing to anyone else who wants it, making it pretty solid for the Harkonnens to snatch up themselves. Everybody would like Imperial Propaganda. Everybody would like Imperial Missionaries. These are 3 pretty big early game Landsrad options. Oh my, the minor houses have given the Imperial Missionaries to the Harkonnens, so extra Solara privileges. The Harkonnens have used their votes to secure the private mandate for themselves. Of course, we expected that. And the Vernius. ECAS gave themselves like a little bit of votes here, but they didn't commit all of their influence to it. Vernius committed everything they had, and they secured authority for themselves. ECAS would have won it because they had more minor houses to give them a little bit of extra juice there, but didn't commit all the way. They saved some of their authority. So, nice economic boon for the Harkonnens, although they're deep in the red right now because they're gone heavy on Plascrete and recruitment offices very early. Harkonnens do like the Plascrete, and they do like the manpower. And it looks like they're either pillaging. I gotta think this is a pillage here because they probably don't have the authority to do a quick annex on the Polar Sink. But pillaging is of course important for the Harkonnens. The Harkonnens always go for their instill fear, where if they pillage a village, it gets a permanent minus 10% authority cost for them to annex it at a future date. And normally people, if you pillage a village, it has a significant malus, a negative to how much authority it costs for you to annex it. But the Harkonnens, rather than making more expensive, it actually gets cheaper for them to annex it because they're instilling fear. All right, we got to move along here. We got to move along. Interesting things are starting to happen. We haven't even talked about everybody. Special regions for the smugglers actually looking a bit thin. Well of Riches is their one guaranteed. Maybe, no, to the west is the Desolation. Is there nothing in their backfield? Yeah, very thin on special regions. There is a White Rift over here, but it's damn near adjacent to the S Vault, so that would be pretty difficult for the smugglers to get. Smugglers gonna have a real hard time contesting Hegemony this game. Hello, hello, Nar and Mongoose and everybody else, welcome to the chat, boys. Good to see you again. Let's move over to Vernius. I think we're gonna call the smuggler territory not good. Not good, maybe bordering on bad. Maybe the quirks can make up for it, but probably not. Over here, Vernius, we've got led by Koi. Koi has opted for Bronzo, allowing faster annex and a free airfield on his furthest one. And Bolig, which is the standard, allows you to multi-build and get extra bonuses on the building districts you've got. Say pillage a village, pillage a village, pillage a village, pillage a village. So House Vernius over here. Now Vernius, of course, they need to spread their purple line here, the node network. That's what it is, right? The nodal network with the neural nodes. There's an even better tongue twister for you, Phelan. The nodal network with the neural nodes. So they're spreading their nodal network with the neural nodes. They cannot be adjacent to other neural nodes in the nodal network. So they have to expand in these sort of long, snaky lines. So we could expand sort of this way, and maybe go up north and expand this way to the west. And now, unfortunately, the layout means he could expand this way and go up. It's gonna be hard to plan out this line because some of the region placement here has been a little awkward for him. The noodle network, the noodle nodal network. Noodles. It looks like he's gone for a very quick Mount Idaho. I actually love that. Idaho, ooh, oh my god, oh my good god, look at this. It's a Mount Idaho, which gives you plus 200% Plascrete Factory. And then he has hit the jackpot and gotten an Industrious plus Plascrete Factory limit, plus 20% Plascrete resource production, and Desert Miners, which is even a little extra Plascrete production per economy building. Damn. That's a fine village to have right there. What's that putting out for him? currently producing 67 plascrete. That is an insane amount. The Harkonnens, meanwhile, have gone heavy into the plascrete. They're making 10 and 10 and 23 and spending like 60 solari a day to do it. Meanwhile, 40 solari a day for the Vernius pays out 67 plascrete. That's pretty nice. That's a nice economic boon. And he actually opted for his other early region here to be a plascrete region. That's crazy. If we look at plascrete income, 128 a day for Vernius, 70 for ECAS, 30 for Smugglers, 79 for Harkonnens. He's winning the plascrete game. Now, plascrete's actually super important for Vernius because they, and we see 2 underway already. They really like to build out these districts as quickly as possible. We see the Bolig Avanti here says he can build multiple districts at the same time, which is unique. And each district that they build that is a unique in that district, in that line, if it's a different color, they get a bonus knowledge for it. So it's a huge boost to your knowledge production. Obviously, the districts themselves give you all kinds of bonuses, which are very useful. So that is awesome. The only thing he needs now is enough money to keep to pay the Solari cost for him, because he's going to have plenty of plascrete. He's actually making some decent Solari a day as well. It looks like a pretty solid start. Do we see, is he spicing? Yeah, we've got 2 spice fields already online for Vernius. So he's got, Vernius doesn't need to annex a spice field. They just need it to be they just need it to be adjacent to the neural node, the nodal network's neural nodes. They just need to be adjacent to the nodal network's neural nodes, and then you can send your combine harvesters over to get them. So he's got 1 here and 1 there. He could also be doing the middle right now if he gets another harvester out. Pretty solid economic start for Vernius here. 1 spice, 2 spice, probably 3 spice here. Easily a 4 spice here, maybe a 5 spice there. If he goes south, there's not really any more spice. He might be stuck with 4, maybe 5 spice. Damn fine start for Vernius here. Let's look at some specials. So we did see the Wellerriches got grabbed up real quick by the Smugglers. It's wise of them. The Polar Sink is going to be a bridge pretty far for Vernius, at least in this very early game. They might be able to contest it later on. But first, let's talk Landsred, because we got a Landsred up. Sisterhood involvement is great. Vernius loves this. ECAS kind of loves this. And Smugglers and Harkonnens are plenty happy with it as well. Everybody likes a Bene Gesserit. Counts as 2 agents when you put them in your information levels. Pretty nice. Territory contest. That's actually really helpful for anybody that's grabbed some quick specials, which I think most of the players have at least 1 by now. And eco development's no big deal. It's going to pass for sure because it's dear to the minor houses and everybody will want a little bit of that juice. Sure. All right, territory contest does not pass. Opposed by the minor houses, though the Smugglers and the ECAS put a couple votes in it. And Bene Gesserit Sisterhood involvement does pass for everybody, so everybody gets a free agent. Pretty big for the ECAS, as they love extra agents for sure. It'll be good. It'll be good for them. Special regions once more. Acid Lakes in the back. That's actually another big one for Vernius. Acid Lakes give you a bonus on your research hub. And this also has a 20% statecraft bonus. That's pretty solid. So you could put a research hub in here and get at least an extra 120% off of it. Doesn't hurt. Up above them there is the White Rift. Ooh, but just as we pointed out, it gets stolen by the Smugglers right from under the noses of Vernius. So we are seeing the very Stakhanov-ish gameplay of Smugglers running out, grabbing special regions as quickly as possible. It is such a pain. Oh, he actually delved quite greedily and quite deeply there. That whole army almost died from thirst trying to grab that region, but he does make it home with a pretty big force there. Vernius famously weak in the early game. They only have really their Suboid soldiers to fight with, one of the worst combat units in the game. Very cheap, effectively free eventually if you can get the no Solari upkeep upgrade on them. So they're free units, free real estate as it were, but they hit like a wet noodle. They hit like a dry noodle that's slightly soggy, not even wet. I don't know. They hit like a noodle that's not a great weapon is what they hit like. Absolutely no match for the smugglers early on. They actually can do decent damage against the smuggler snipers who don't have any armor, but the smuggler snipers will basically one-tap them still. Very interesting. We'll see how this holds. This will be a point of contention for sure, but the White Rift is also... the bonus of the White Rift is at 100% more craft workshop resource production, and one of the reasons you want special regions is because you can build craft shops on them, which allow you to get a daily income of hegemony. So the White Rift kind of counts as 2 special regions. So if they're able to hold that and the Well of Riches, suddenly they're not in the worst spot for the smugglers. So I love that play, actually. It secures them some late game relevance, at least on some ticking hegemony. But Vernius is not going to be happy about that at all, so that's going to be a point of contention, no doubt. Other than that, there's an Imperial Basin over here, which is all right. A little extra recruitment office for manpower. Vernius does not care about manpower very much at all. ECAS would love that. We'll see if ECAS make their way up. And not a lot else in the way of specials. So for Vernius really to be happy on the hedge game, they are going to want the White Rift back from the smugglers. And that's going to be tough, because the smugglers are a tough force to fight against just about all the time. There's sort of a lull as you transition into the late game where the smuggler army falls off a little bit, but then once they get their Wraith, their spaceship up, suddenly they're awful to fight against again. Vernius, however, does get a pretty powerful supercharged army, and you need a little bit of specialized knowledge to be able to fight against them, especially if they go with Kater as their hero. So we'll see how that progresses, and we'll talk about that when we get there. Last but not least, let's talk about our ECAS player. ECAS led by Crix and has opted for Ebo Vip. Of course, allows you to use Landsrad immunity to take immunity to a bad resolution in the Landsrad. A wildly overpowered counselor basically carries the entire faction of ECAS on his back. Gives you a little extra Landsrad standing on building a masterpiece as well. And then the other option is Mesa ECAS. Abandoning a village gives you authority back, so you could capture a region, build a bunch of masterpieces in it, and then abandon it, which gives you some slight bonuses and is really annoying for the enemies. Allows you faster masterpiece build time, and each masterpiece outside of ECAS territory makes the villages in it harder to siege, so they can kind of build like this neutral territory filled with masterpieces that both give you bennies when you build them and then are horrible malices for the enemies to try to get rid of them. But we do see some trades going out there. Let's check diplomacy real quick here. We have non-aggression between Vernius and Harkonnens, and non-aggression between Vernius and smugglers. You really want a non-aggression with Vernius than ECAS, because that means Vernius is giving all of their tech up to the blue guys and giving all of their tech over to the red guys. Vernius trade their technology prowess. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know how am I going to word this. When you have a non-aggression pact with Vernius, you get access to all of their tech. So the Harkonnens don't have recruitment initiative or nefarious contacts researched or lay of the land, but because Vernius does, they have a little purple border around them, and then the Harkonnens get the benefits of that as long as they're at peace with Vernius. So everybody's getting the masterful Vernius tech right now, except ECAS, who hasn't done any sort of diplomacy with anyone. Generally, you want to either be killing Vernius or their friends. You don't want to be in the middle. You don't want to be sitting in that middle zone. That's not helpful. Okay, we talked Mesa ECAS. Let's talk about our starting region. Our first spice field, extra militia, extra pillaging, not exciting. We did have a second spice field picked up for ECAS over here. Statecraft and bonus for things dying in our regions, not that great. They did go ahead and go up and grab that space cruiser wreck, which is pretty good for them. That'll lock that down against Harkonnen aggression, at least for now. And they're just kind of they've grabbed a little bit of energy source in the back. Not too exciting, not too exciting. 1 spice, 2 spice, maybe a 3rd spice. Oh, maybe a 3rd spice above them. The Harkonnens are currently pillaging it. Maybe a 4th spice to their east, though I think Vernius could also start once they bounce, if they're able to figure out how they're going to move a purple line through the desert, which will actually be fairly tricky. The regions, the layout of the regions is awkward for Vernius. They're going to have a hard time getting their neural nodes into a nodal network that makes sense using the purple lines through here. Once they figure it out, it'll be great for them, but for now, they're struggling a little bit. Third Landsrad online. We're in month 3 already. Time flies when you're having fun. Scientific Congress for faster military developments. Not that big a deal, though some people would like that because now is probably about the time when you're leaning into your red stuff. Landsrad investigation means nothing. Infrastructure control would be huge for Vernius, although the Harkonnens have already stuck some taint on it, and Vernius probably doesn't want any extra taint. Nope, they opted not to get it. Harkonnens, ECAS tries for it, but the Harkonnens get it off the back of an extra 7 votes from the minor houses, swinging it in the Harkonnens' favor. Military developments does pass, so everybody ought to be switching over to red tech. So we want to see you basically canceling all your other techs and queuing up red techs to get. You want to get all the way up to military propaganda during this phase. Get your red techs, get your red techs. Oh, Smuggler's already pretty deep in their red tree. That makes sense, though. They especially like getting up to industrial scavenging and organized looting really quickly. And Harkonnens, not much in the way of red tech at all. Harkonnens are leaning a very economically focused game here. We've got valuable trinkets already online for Vernius. That's interesting. And he's opting for automated defenses now. He's not taking advantage of the red tech. That's a mistake. You can come back and get automated defenses unless you feel like you're in imminent danger, which I don't think you are, unless I've missed it. I mean, he's probably nervous about the smugglers for sure, but I would like to see him. There's also Harkonnens over here in Vernius lands pillaging things. There's smugglers up here pillaging things. Vernius is trying to pillage? Nope, this is already devastated. Vernius has some great lands to work with, but everybody is marching around them and pillaging them from underneath him. And we do see smugglers marching south. I feel like they were trying to march on this village, but the very awkward rock wall made him take a long walk, yeah. So Vernius in some perilous territory. They're actually at peace with both of these factions that are marching around their territory burning things. Got a worm sign down here on Ekaz. Be careful in the desert, Ekaz. You're safe by the rocks, but these guys are not safe in the middle. Okay, it's gone. You're lucky. I thought we were about to have a worm-eaten video there, but no luck. No such luck. Yeah, automated defense is an amazing pickup early on for sure, but it's such a waste to have plus 50% speed on something and not get it. Like, come back and get your automated defenses a little bit later. You can do it. You're making 26 knowledge, more than like you're making the entire other lobby's knowledge put together. At least take advantage of the plus 50% that you're getting from the Landsrad for the red tech right now. But he's feeling a little hemmed in. He's feeling very cautious, and he wants to finish his automated defenses first. That's fine. Now he's picking up some red tech, although we're already just a couple days in the month. 9 days in. You lost about half of your Landsrad speed boost there, but not the end of the world. Just a little point on optimization. Harkonnens, though, have gone for their land grab, for their spice grab, rather. True to the thumbnail. Last year I had 37 presents. I love that part. The Harkonnens have opted for the spice field up north, the spice field to the northwest, the worm nest to the west, and their starting spice field, and still could potentially grab one of these ones around the middle as well and probably hold it for a bit. Could be a lot of spice coming in for the Harkonnens. Could be currently making 203 a day, while 27 for smugglers, 65 for Vernius, 60 for the Ekaz. You love to see it. The Chome market, 5% Ekaz, 2% Vernius, 11% Harkonnens. So we've seen some purchasing already. Harkonnens have bought 115 shares off the market. Current price is roughly about 1,600 Solaria for 20 shares. Who do I like from these positions? I think I like the Harkonnens' position here. They've got some land to work with. They've got strong specials, access to some strong specials. Well, at least 2 really good safe ones. I guess that the Desolation's not good there. The Polar Sink could be there, so reasonably strong specials. Their economic game is going to pop off like crazy here. We do see the Office of Order starting to come down on these spice fields, which will allow them to automatically be oppressed, Getting oppressed by the Harkonnens means that the village makes 100% more resource production and occasionally rebels, but you know, that's fine. Sometimes the rebels even pay you out more money when you kill them. You can sell off the rebel bodies. Synthropy thinks Vernius is in trouble, the map doesn't favor them, and they're undefended on all fronts. Well, Vernius always starts basically undefended. They have a very tenuous, fragile early game. I don't know how much we've seen. We've got 4 districts built for them, but over here the Harkonnens are already on their 6th district. Smugglers are on 2 main base districts, 2 main base districts for EKAZ. So that incredible there's that incredible stockpile of plascrete. They actually don't have enough Solari to even make use of it. They're sitting on 3.6 thousand plascrete in the bank and only like 200 Solari to work with. Meanwhile, the Harkonnen economy, way more balanced. They're actually making 160 plascrete, even more than the Vernius now, and an extra 500 spice a day. The Harkonnens, lobster on the Harkonnens is cooking, absolutely cooking. His economy's looking wild. Vernius has struggled a little bit to get it going, and I do think some of it is the awkwardness of his the neural nodes nodal network. The neural node on his nodal network. He wants to go west because he wants to bounce this node up to the Mount Idaho. But when he does that, he can't go south here. And he can't... So if he wants to go north, or if he wants to connect his southern territory, he has to go east, and then east again, and then south, and then south. This wide territory here, which blocks him off from being able to bounce a node through the desert, over to this territory here, it's just really awkward spacing for the purple line. It's really difficult to get it where he wants it to go, and we do see him doing that long, torturous route down south, I think, probably. He'll get there. I think he's gonna be okay. It's just he's coming online slower than we might have anticipated. I think he's struggling a little bit from all of the territory he wants around him getting pillaged by his neighbors, by his peaceful neighbors. Lands are at online. Now military developments might go slower, or tax negotiations are cheaper. Solari, Harkonnens have stuck some taint on that. That would actually be pretty big for them. War of Assassins, 2 free assassins is always nice. Vernius has the most votes to work with. They're sitting on the biggest influence bank. This would be good for everybody, but it would put Vernius into the pits in Landsraad standing. It would send him down to poor standing with the Landsraad, and they would get some not so good things from that. They're at 229, and 200 is the cutoff. So if they lost the 30 from the Harkonnen taint being on this, it would be bad. Nope, Harkonnens have secured it for themselves. Vernius just grabbed themselves a couple of free assassins. And military developments does pass because the smugglers put a bounty to support it. That's unusual. I didn't even see that smuggler bounty there. So, oh, interesting. Nobody took advantage of the smuggler bounty either. Solari we granted per vote. I mean, normally if someone puts a smuggler bounty, you just take those free votes, but nobody really did that. EKAZ threw some votes over here. Vernius threw a bunch of votes over here. I mean, 250 votes at 10 Solari per vote. You could have just given yourself... You could have ignored 2 assassins and gotten 2,500 Solari by voting for over here. Seems like a missed opportunity to me, especially if you're hurting on the Solari. But we've actually got some big banks in here. Harkonnen's sitting on 7k, 6k for the smugglers. What's the Cho market doing? Hark's buying up gradually, up to 13% at the moment. Smugglers just sitting on their bank. Is anybody cooking any hedge at the moment? Vernius at a +10. Are they actually? They did. They do have a crafts workshop up on Mount Idaho. And I imagine one will go up before too long over on the Acid Lakes. I mean, early craft workshops are great. They are, however, very expensive. Upkeep of 25 Solari a day makes them about the most expensive building in the game to maintain being built. So if you build into them before you have the economic base set up to support them, they kind of strangle your economy a little bit. But at the same time, getting a daily tick on your hegemony is really, really powerful. And we do see smugglers leaning even more heavily into it. Smugglers online here for crafts workshops. They don't even have their own valuable trinkets. They're several steps away from it. But because Vernius picked it up early and their peace with the smugglers, the smugglers are able to take advantage of that free tech for valuable trinkets, allowing them to unlock and build the craft workshops. If they ever became not pieced with the smugglers, all their craft workshops would stop working, which is really funny. But for now, 36 a day when nobody else is really making anything is a pretty nice little boost. You let that cook for a while and you'll be doing really sitting pretty in the spice game. Conan, we do see the ECAS managed to pick up their front spice field. That'll be some decent spice for them. They do have to watch out because way in the back of their territory, they're getting liberated over here. Some local Fremen raiders have come in to liberate the spacing wreck. It does have an airfield on it though, so I think they ought to be able to get there as long as he sees it in time. And he is walking back. I think he's got it. And they're grabbing the Imperial Basin. Alright, love to see it. Those are important pickups for ECAS. They've got the Mundu Vale down there, which is okay, well, actually, pretty bad. But they will be able to lock down the Mundu Vale, the Imperial Basin, and the Space Wreck. So 3 special regions for ECAS, not that bad. I'd like to see a bit faster expansion from ECAS. They do have the one sanctuary online back here. So the ECAS, if they surround all of the territory around a single region, it turns into a sanctuary for them. Sanctuaries give them extra authority production, and all the neighboring regions get bonus quirks on their villages. So this region now makes, instead of making 50% of its plascrete as Solari, it now makes ×2. So 100% of its plascrete would be produced as Solari here. Build a damn plascrete factory here. Oh, he did. All right, good boy. He does go and clean that up. All right, so ECA's doing fine down there. I think he's gonna strain against his borders pretty quickly here. There's not a whole lot more I would see him expanding to in the middle. To the east, he should really get over there and maybe try and grab that spice field out from underneath Vernius's clutches. But we'll see. No combat or anything yet. I don't think we've got any more diplomacy. We're entering into a mid-game and a relatively peaceful one so far. What are you doing down here, ECAS? ECAS is still a little light on the districts. Building out the districts in your main base is very important. The districts offer really strong bonuses, both of the bonus that the district building itself gives you, as well as the what are these called? Completing your district. I don't know if there is a special name, but like the investment offices. He's got 1 yellow, completes this box here, so he now gets the 1 yellow bonus of 15% faster econ development. You really want to fill these boxes out, right? You put 3 red buildings in here and you unlock the 3rd one, plus 20% max health for your military units. That sort of stuff is big. So building out your base rapidly, very important in the game. Over here we see almost 6 districts online for the Vernius. Harkonnens don't need to be taught this lesson. They are already working on their 8th base district, you know, a credit to their huge economy. And they've opted for an early triple yellow, which is, I think, a little unorthodox, but they went for it because the economic lobbies, the yellow bonus here, is 10% extra Solari production. And we know the Harkonnens are leaning into a Solari production game just by them rapidly grabbing all those spice fields they could get their hands on. And we do see them annexing the Polar Sink in the center right now. Very interesting. I knew that was going to be Harkonnen favored. The Polar Sink usually goes the way of whichever side the village is closest to, because it allows you, it just makes it much more defensible. We have a little bit of a bunker situation here where the close region here will allow some missile turrets built on the Harkonnen side over here on these rocks to guard the Polar Sink here. So you could build missile turret here and here, and missile turret here and here, and then boom, you've got 4 missile turrets guarding this really important territory. So that's pretty nice. It's a pretty, so just sort of an innate bonus the Harkonnens have working for them because the map generation for them was favorable. Looks like they're headed out to do some pillaging. We see a lot of pillaging from the smugglers. We see a big storm raging over the Vernius lands, and he has opted for Kater. So let's talk about Kater real quick before it becomes super relevant. Now the Harkonnens and the smugglers are not at peace, and their armies are very close to each other. 61 out of 65 command points for the Harkonnens, 63 out of 65 command points for the smugglers. They are the 2 big dogs on the field. And it looks like they both started walking the opposite direction, so maybe we won't see any trouble. Let's see, we've got ourselves another Lanzer out here. Statecraft's no big deal. You know, worse economic tech's no big deal. All these are pretty junk. Nobody cares about any of these. What we do care about is people are starting to come up as available for charters. I always recommend, if you have the least interest in political play, which at this point it does not, we don't see really any influence generation online for ECAS. They're making +2, plus 0.7 for Vernius, +8 for Smugglers, +11 for the Harkonnens. So the Harkonnens actually have some of the best political play at the moment too. And the Harkonnens are eligible for a number of these offices. You know, if you're eligible for an office, upvote that sucker and get yourself an office, right? Picking up early game charters when nobody cares too much about them can be a nice power boost. And winning the charter itself gives you a bonus as well. Isn't there a way to say it? First election reward. So the first time someone wins a charter, so if you win the first election for Water Sellers Union, you gain 2,000 Solari and a bonus 20 Landsrad standing. Is that the same for everybody? No, it's a little different. 20, if you win governorship, it's 10,000 Solari. All the other ones are 2,000 Solari and 20 standing. So winning a charter is pretty big because the standing is relatively slow to gain. We do see Vernius making the most because they're at peace with the most people. A little bit for the Harkonnens, a little bit for the Smugglers. Nothing for the ECAS. ECAS normally like to lean into political play as one of their potential win conditions. I would have liked to see ECAS maybe get out. If he's not fighting anybody, you might as well be non-aggression pact with them. I'd like to see him get some non-aggression pacts out with people in order to grow his Landsrad. So, I don't know where else to look at this, but like your Landsrad standing, the main way to grow this is being at a non-aggression pact with people. Is it showing diplomacy? Yeah, so +4 Landsrad standing after every council while a truce is active. So the longer you're at truce with someone, the faster your standing grows in the council, allowing you to get quicker into that political play. The ECAS are so strong in their political play because they always have the option of going down their blue tree into political art. Political art says, and this is a unique tech just for the ECAS, any charter currently claimed by House ECAS cannot be proposed to vote. So, you know, functionally what that means is if the ECAS win the Water Sellers Union, the Water Sellers Union will not come up again to be voted on for someone else to have it. The ECAS just have it forever. So eventually, if you get all the way through, if the ECAS are able to secure governorship for themselves, they are the governor. It's not going to come up again. You can't get them out of being the governor. So it is a verified political win condition. Everybody else, if they get elected to governorship, they could get voted out of governorship again before it actually allows them to win the game. But the ECAS are the only ones that can really sort of lock that down with their unique political tech. We're starting to see some bigger armies marching around. I thought there was a bigger army, but not really. I was like, there's a lot of purple units over here, but it is only 18 lowly command points of Vernius units. We were going to talk about Kater. Let's do that now. So this is the Vernius hero. Now, unlocks extra gear slots, yada, yada, yada. The important thing is he cannot be seen outside of combat, and his ally non-mechanical units, so not the drones, at short range around him, which is like a little circle, boop, boop, are stealthed. So what you do is you have these other units, the fight engineers, who are non-mechanical units. Now these guys have an ability allowing them to heal all of the drones around them. So Vernius gets into a fight. Kater and the fight engineers are stealthed. You can't see them, you can't attack them, and the fight engineers deploy and start healing all the drones around them. So all the actual fighting units you have, your railgun drones, your melee drones and stuff, they all are getting healed as they battle, which is an incredibly strong effect. The only way to properly counter that is to have a unit that can see stealth, or to prepare... Where are my agent espionage actions? You can prepare the humble probe setup, which also reveals all stealth units in the region. Probe setup's very easy. It's just 100 intel, but you need to have it prepped ahead of time, right? If you get into a fight with Vernius and they start healing and you can't see the guys that are healing, you know, if you could see them, you would just shoot them and they die relatively quickly, and then you could have a normal fight. But if you can't see them, suddenly it's this incredible force multiplier that's really, really hard to deal with. And sometimes new players aren't aware of that interaction. If you don't know that you need to be able to spot the stealth units in order to kill them, the high value stuff for Vernius, then the Vernius can really punch above their weight in some of those battles. Smuggler's pretty chill back there. Harkonnen's pretty chill. Ekaz just working on their expansion. They recently grabbed the Moondew Vale. If we check out hedge growth, still 36 a day on Smugglers, 21 a day on Vernius. No daily hedge yet for Harkonnens or Ekaz, but the Harkonnens are up to 24% on the Chom market. Meanwhile, 1% Smugglers, 3% Vernius, 4% Ekaz. I would not be at all surprised if the Harkonnens chom straight to victory. Chom also, so, you know, victory for the Chom market is hitting 50% of the Chom shares. If you own 50% of the market, you win outright. Once you hit 40%, there'll be a big box will pop up and say, hey, these guys are going to own all the Chom and they're going to win the game. There's also a lot of benefits to owning Chom along the way. You get extra influence that allows them to train mercenaries. Once you hit the critical 30%, it's 15% military unit power, which is a huge, very impactful bonus. Also extra influence, which is a lot of extra political power, having a larger bank of influence. And Harkonnen's going to hit 30%, no problem. And probably head straight on by up to 40%. You usually see someone linger about 39% or so until the lobby becomes hostile. And then once they're hostile, you start buying all the Chom you can get your greedy fingers on. Now, the other part of a Chom victory is there are some strong Landsrat options that can come up that can really throw a wrench in trying to buy Chom, or could make you sort of lose some of the Chom shares that you saved up. So political power is actually very strong as well. The best thing you could possibly do if you're planning for a Chom victory is, you know, step one, make an incredible amount of money, which they are doing. 1.2k a day. It's fluctuating a little bit, but a huge income, daily income for the Harkonnens. They're making money hand over fist. It's looking great for them. But the other thing they really need in the Landsrat here is they would love to get their hands on Speaker of the Council. Everyone would, but the Harkonnens, if they're choming, really, really, really would. Because what happens is this allows you to replace resolutions at the council. So when council resolutions come up that say like, hey, this player loses, you know, half their Chom shares or 20% of their Chom shares, whatever it is, you say, no thank you. As Speaker of the Council, I'm going to go ahead and quash that resolution, so we don't got to worry about that. Otherwise, it is really painful to have some of those resolutions sabotage your Chom buying. But we're not quite there yet. We currently have gear regulations, which the smugglers put a bounty on the Harkonnens for. That's very interesting. Diplomatic Congress. I hope Ekaz gets this just because they really need truces with everybody. And Chom contracts. The elected faction gains Chom shares. The Harkonnens... Oh, a random House Imperius, or House Carino comes in to make this affect only a single faction. The Harkonnens put taint on it, and the smugglers fight for it themselves, sending their Landsrat standing into the pits, by the way, down into low, where we're seeing lots of ships fly around. Are we having any sort of combat or anything? No proper combat. But the Harkonnens would have loved 50 free shares because they're probably getting expensive at this point in time. Yeah, 2,800 to buy 2,800 Solari to buy 20 shares. Would have been nice to get 50. That would have been, it's almost like a 5,000, 6,000 something, 6,000 plus for that single Landsrat resolution. So that was nice that the smugglers stole that from the Harkonnens. The Harkonnens clearly wanted it, although they actually spread out and grabbed all kinds of different stuff. Everybody gear regged the Harkonnens because of that smuggler bounty on them, and because, you know, I'm sure they don't like the Harkonnens. The lobby's got to be aware at this point in time. I think these folks are all in Discord together. Are they chatting with each other? Yes, I think all of them are in Discord. So if they're in voice chat, that means the information will flow very freely between them. Jimbo Slam is lactating with excitement that the game is still getting love. It's true. Good morning, 2+4, 6. Good morning. Welcome, chat. Welcome to the Duning. We've got ourselves a beginners tournament here. And what we're seeing is the Harkonnens rushing for a Chom victory. You know what? I just heard my AC kick on. It's got that loud hum in the background. Hum. And it's going to drive me crazy while I'm recording. So I'm going to run and turn that off. BRB real quick. fortunately that I'm not currently in the midst of one of those unbearable heat waves that have been so prevalent this year. So I can afford to turn off the AC for the day, just to make sure the audio experience here is a bit more pleasant for y'all. Alright, army-wise. Okay, we've had the transition into the drone. Vernius has pulled the trigger. Resonance drones online, fighting mechs online. Still a lot of Suboids. He's got a little bit more work to do to build that army out, but looking good. Whitmore online for House ECAS. Some knights starting to get filled out. We do have the monument up early. That's the flagship for ECAS, of course, because they have the space wreck, giving them extra space points. And they're marching north. Harkonnen's marching south. ECAS could win this fight. They could commit to this. This is a small Harkonnen subset army. A little sub-army came down here to pillage. And now they realize that there's trouble here. I think this executioner's a little too far. Oh, did we get peace, actually? Oh, the Harkonnens got peace with everybody because of the Congress. The Harkonnens voted themselves into diplomatic Congress peace, strangely enough. Whoop. No, we that must have just... ECAS wants to trade with Harkonnen. Harkonnens declined the trade. I think ECAS must have just broken that treaty and are now marching on Harkonnen lands. You love to see it. Everywhere else, are we quiet? Just pillaging and stuff going on. ECAS have marched on the Worm Nest to the west. Excellent, excellent. Whitmore out here collecting skulls. Do we have any other, does he have anyone made a champion yet? I don't think so, and oof. Worm just popped up and ate somebody there. ECAS army down to 40 command points. I think they might have lost their musketeers they had with them. I didn't quite see what that was. But Shai Hulud did surface. I don't know if you go in, Harkonnens. Shai Hulud is around. Oh, the Harkonnens do fly in reinforcements, and now the ECAS are in a very bad spot. Run! Get Whitmore out of there! The ECAS army actually fighting quite well, despite being wildly outnumbered. He swaps the monument over to the lullaby to lower the attacking speed of everybody. Whitmore's getting focused, and once he goes down, it's going to be pretty bad. You know, honestly, the ECAS army was fighting pretty well. Whitmore is now down, and the ECAS are going to get cleaned up here. If they had had a full stack, I think they beat the hell out of those Harkonnens. Raban is on the field. He's gone ahead and given everybody his Raban's thrall to make them uncontrollable and boost them up. ECAS should be running, but they're just going to stand and fight to the death here. Sort of unfortunate that... oh, I was going to say the Thumper went on up here. Okay, good play. Good play. That must have been Lobster dropping the Thumper, because I was going to say I would have expected Worms to come eat everybody here. I think the monument is in trouble. I think he needed to be running that earlier. It might get chased down by gunners here. Really unfortunate. You don't want to lose that. That's fairly expensive, as is the rest of your army. I loved that aggression. He still has the lullaby on, which is actually doing a nice job. The lullaby, non-mechanical units at long range suffer minus 50% attack speed. Very strong, but there's enough gunners alive here. They are going to be able to chase him down. Ooh, pretty devastating losses for ECAS. He could have had that there. The trouble was he got nibbled on a little bit by a worm, and he committed when he did not have a full-size army, and he ended up fighting against a full-size army. I think 65 v 65 command points there. ECAS wins that fight. But it was more like 40 versus 65. So when the enemy's got, 50% more men than you, it's not going to go great. It's not going to go great. Dune battles live and die based on relatively small differences between the forces. The differences in the terrain, differences in the engagement, differences in, the bonuses and benefits you have available based on the districts you've built and the various things that you've built in your empire. Certainly, you don't want to go in with a huge command point mismatch. I would recommend ECAS just run for the hills as soon as the Harkonnen started coming in there. But that sort of thing, that sort of stuff comes with the wisdom of dying over and over as ECAS and various other people. Ooh, Landsrat is out. Harkonnens and ECAS both texting each other quite a bit back and forth now. I think the Harkonnens are probably feeling fairly smug about that encounter, and the Ekaz are suitably chastened. None of these are interesting Landsrad opportunities here. Missionaries, you know, money's nice. Foreign recruitment actually would be real nice for the Ekaz, but the Harkonnens have stuck some taint on it, which doesn't feel great. Ekaz have jumped up fairly well in the Landsrad. I think they're getting a lot. They're probably just building masterpieces all over to earn their Landsrad, because they're still making 0 per council because they refuse to peace anybody in the game. What's gonna happen? They're thinking through the Landsrad. Ekaz pretty badly, probably. I guess they're sitting on a 500 manpower bank, so they can probably afford to rebuild that army. And money-wise, they're okay. Yeah, get some units in the queue, Ekaz. You're gonna need more men. All factions can upgrade charter priority, but nobody's really paying attention to that. Eye of the Council will be up next time, though. We can see when it crosses over 50 on the charter priority, and when it gets this white outline around the box, that means that charter is going to be up for vote on the next Landsrad. That's how you can tell what's going on. If you really wanted to be Speaker of the Council, you could come in here and you could now, instead of influence, you could dump Solari thanks to agenda contracts. You could dump some extra money in here to boost up the priority over here, and then Speaker of the Council would come up rather than Eye of the Council if its charter priority was a higher number. But nothing too exciting. Imperial Missionaries, a little extra money for the smugglers, and foreign recruitment for the Harkonnens. I doubt they need it. Harkonnens sitting at, everybody's sitting at quite large manpower reserves at the moment. Oh, we've got Harkonnens over here annexing the space wreck. I mean, they don't have enough men here, and Ekaz do have some soldiers rebuilt, enough to stop this at least. Yep. And the Harkonnen Lobster sees the danger and runs away. He might lose a trooper for his trouble. He wants to fight. Okay, pretty decent. The Cerberus are actually really great on the Musketeers. Musketeers are low armor, so they take extra damage from these Cerberus. More Harkonnens coming in. Harkonnens do want to fight for it. I think we're struggling a little bit on some of the targeting here. Ooh, a worm strike would be very bad for the Harkonnens. Oh, Raban died, and the whole Harkonnen army and reinforcements all get eaten. Shai Hulud claims his due. One single lowly executioner comes back from that, but losing your hero to a worm strike is devastating. Oh, it feels so bad. So bad. This is weird here. The smugglers should not have taken this region. I guess they really want fuel cells, but it removes their Stakhanov bonuses from their 2 specials. Don't keep your Stakhanov in mind. Now all Ekaz has to do, he's not making enough men at a time, unfortunately. He doesn't have his training center up, so he needs the red building that gives him 2 extra training slots. He can only make 2 men at a time, which is too slow. They're both going to land here. Can a squire and a musketeer defeat an executioner? Not if you let the executioner kill your musketeer first. I think you want to kite him. Run that musketeer away. I don't know. Maybe you stand and fight. It's going kind of okay. We can see on the horizon a bunch more Harkonnens have landed. The Harkonnens are training 6 men at a time. Or at least can. They've got a full 65 command points potential available. As the reinforcements come in, Ekaz has to run. So one of the key reasons that Ekaz is not considered really a top tier faction is they have 2 less slots for training military units than everybody else does. Why do they have 2 less slots? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. I think Cream recorded actually an interview with the lead developer of Dune Spice Wars. I wonder if he manages to ask him, why have you not given Ekaz 2 extra training slots in all these years? It's not like Ekaz is OP. They could really, really, really use that. Especially with the prevalence of Ekaz. Sometimes Ekaz has the opportunity to train even slower if they want to make train perfected units. It hurts me every time I think about it. Ekaz is about to get bullied, or going to be continued to be bullied here by the Harkonnens. No real pressure on the Harkonnens to do anything else. They lose. I was gonna say they lose out on some time and space pillaging things, but Lobster doing an amazing job here, splitting his army. He's got a small force up here, still doing his pillaging runs, and his larger force down here. He knows he has the Ekaz outmatched, So he's getting the annex here in the space cruiser wreck, which is going to be a big pickup for them, and micromanaging a second army to continue pillaging. Top tier play from Lobster. Very impressed with that. Not too bad from Crix on the ECAS, just some really sort of classic blunders, staying in too long, committing when you shouldn't commit, but those are really difficult things to know when and how to do so. And now he's in the classic ECAS death spiral of not having enough men, not being able to make enough men quickly enough. If the Harkonnens want to, they literally could march through and like take everything and probably kill ECAS at this point in time. There's no need to, because they're already in a strong enough point. They don't need to really incite the blood feud quite like that, but they literally could just kill ECAS at this point in time. Smugglers just smuggling, keeping their army on the borders. A Vernius army kind of around the front here. Vernius has managed to snake the purple line all the way down south. They did grab that southern spice field, which we thought could be ECAS based, but ECAS also getting liberated on the Imperial Basin here. That's very bad. It's very bad. I don't know, they don't have quite enough men to go fight that. ECAS are training. They're only training one guy at a time now. What's going on with our ECAS friend? He's got money, he's got manpower. He needs to focus on getting his military rebuilt as quickly as possible. I think the micro on that is, the macro there is lapsing a little bit. Harkonnens, meanwhile, looking pretty good, just putting down rebellions. If we check out the CHOAM market, Harkonnens at 34%, 5% smugglers, 9% Vernius, 4% House ECAS. They need to walk without rhythm, ain't it true? The wisdom of the ECAS, shit, that didn't work, let's not do that next time. So true, so true. That's how so much of Dune Spice Wars works, is you try something, you go, oh my god, that was a disaster. CHOAM support obfuscated by Vernius. Is that true? I didn't see. Okay, so Vernius, one of their superpowers is they could pick any one development in the game and turn it off. So what they've opted to do in this case is turn off CHOAM support, so which the Harkonnens had, which pretty powerful, minus 15% CHOAM share buying price, and a higher spice exchange per every 5% of CHOAM shares that you got. So very much of the rich get richer kind of thing. Vernius said, no thanks, no CHOAM support for anybody. I'm a little interested to see Harkonnens now in the daily cooking game. Why not? They've got so many special regions and so much money. 31 for Harkonnens, 38 for smugglers, 27 for Vernius. Another Landsred online. Imperial intelligence cannot be targeted by infiltration cells. Is someone putting up infiltration cells? The smugglers have finally accepted a trade agreement and a non-aggression pact with ECAS. So ECAS starting some diplomacy now in the 6th month. Eye of the Council online and has a smuggler bounty for House Vernius. I would be a little more cautious with handing out those bounties. I mean, this lets Vernius win. It gives 2,100 Solari for the Harkonnens just for voting for him. You like that thumbnail, Sean? I was quite proud of it. I was quite happy with it. Yeah, smugglers need to be careful with these bounties because you can hand out a lot of money to other people inadvertently. And then military development speed does not pass. Let's see, is anyone infiltrating their neighbors? That is the question. Not the Harkonnens. Yes, the smugglers have 3 agents on the Harkonnens. That is cool as hell. Vernius has 3 agents on the Harkonnens. If you can't beat them, kill them. I think we might see some assassination gameplay going on here. Okay, let's see. We've got a smuggler cell up here. A smuggler cell... There's got to be more than one, right? Maybe I'm just not seeing it, right? It's this little eyeball next to the village, and it's hard to identify. Okay, one in the back there. At least 2 smuggler cells up. Are the smugglers into the murdering tech? They've got enough to work with. Vernius picking up physical wiring, which will allow them to train assassins. Vernius no longer the best at murdering people. Once upon a time, that was their superpower before they were reworked. Their superpower was free infiltration cells on any villages adjacent to the neural nodes nodal network, which gave them sometimes tons of infiltration cells on people, and it was almost impossible not to be murdered by Vernius. You like the style? I absolutely learned the style from Turin for sure. The haggard. We don't use MS Paint for it. I use GIMP as my image editing program, but we know just enough image editing to make us dangerous. They're fun to make too. I crack myself up making thumbnails. I will when I come on a really good idea, I just sit and giggle to myself when it comes together. I'm quite pleased with them. And today's is no exception. Peace in the land reigns for now. Diplomacy-wise, we still have technically war between Ekaz and Harkonnens and Ekaz and Vernius. Although I imagine the Ekaz army ever so slowly growing, up to 32 command points. Harkonnens do have the Overlord online now. And we do have the Wraith online as well. Is there one for Vernius? Yes, the folder relay is up. Everybody but the Ekaz have their main flagships online now. Ekaz was the first there, but they foolishly got theirs blown up. Overlord's pretty strong, launches little stings that can suicide. The stings can shoot at stuff, or they can suicide in and blow things up. The Wraith is incredibly strong. Where's your Wraith at, my man? I don't see. Oh, it's just on top of the whole blob here. The Wraith, this big smuggler ship, has this ring, this big circle of poison gas underneath it, which slows the enemy and does constant damage to them. And then you can supercharge it to make it, make people underneath lose their life twice as fast. So it's incredibly oppressive in a big blob fight, because it just sort of, in Total War they'd call it like a mortis engine effect. It drains the life of everything around it constantly. It can be very, very strong. It's a little fragile, I think. 2,400 for armor. Meanwhile, the Overlord is 2,607 armor. The Folder Relay, only 1,506 armor. So the Folder Relay is actually quite a bit more fragile, but the Wraith, very strong. And it does look like smugglers are marching on Harkonnens, maybe so. Yep, the Harkonnen militia got drawn out by some raiders, and then the smugglers show up and burn down the heavy militia. We are seeing some of that bunkers strategy we were talking about start to come online, but he was a little late on it. The smugs get in here, they kill the militia, they put these first two missile turrets offline. They're starting an annex. The Harkonnen army is here, and we're gonna have fisticuffs. A lot of snipers, almost entirely a ranged force for Vernius. They're gonna, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We're glass cannon absolutely for the smugglers. They're gonna need to be real careful. The Cerberuses, sleeper agents and Cerberuses are really great counters to this. We do have Drisk, their sniper lord. Unfortunately, I think there's just not enough meat, and the Harkonnen army is really cutting through this low hit point, zero armor composition for the smugglers. The Wraith doing good work, but he's also getting cleaned up. Gunners are actually so good at killing stuff. So good. Gunners do some pretty crazy DPS. They're very easy to kill, but the smugglers end up completely wiped from that. It's a wounded Harkonnen force. They lost about 15 command points, but they killed about 65. We have 2 assassinations online. Smugglers assassinating Harkonnens, Vernius assassinating Harkonnens, Vernius also attacking Harkonnens. Now this is how you do it. It's relatively easy to stop an assassination when you're able to focus on it and make sure it doesn't happen. We've got a misplay from Vernius as he attacks with Kater, and Kater is getting focus fired down. Ooh, yes, Vernius, no. An EMP goes down, so Lobster was ready for this. Vernius forced to retreat. He realizes his mistake. Yep, just a micro mistake. He sent his hero, his force was a little spread out. He sent his hero in first, and it got sniped down. You actually never want your hero to fight when you're Kater for Vernius. You want him hiding on the side, staying in stealth, so that he continues to stealth your fight engineers, so they could heal everyone. Him fighting makes him visible, allows him to die. And disaster for the Vernius forces. The Harkonnens continue to hold. But, like I was saying, what they're doing by keeping the pressure on the Harkonnens... Ooh, an Imperial Summit is up to cancel assassination attempts. What they're doing by keeping the pressure on the Harkonnens is they're making it... It's a micro-tax, right? It's really, really difficult for the Harkonnens to... they have to prepare the operations to search their villages. They have to send units to the villages to do the searching. You've got to do all this extra clicking and looking around that you wouldn't normally have to do. And when you're also trying to fight battles at that time, it takes away the precious time that you need in order to find everything before the assassinations finish. How does it work when you're getting murdered by two people? Yes, you can in fact have multiple. There could be a Vernius infiltration cell on the same village that has a smuggler infiltration cell. In fact, unless they're talking about it, they've got no idea where each other's infiltration cells are. When we already are 44% of the way through a smuggler one. Both of these have been detected, so the Harkonnens know what's going on. And we're 32% of the way through the Vernius one. And we're in an interesting Landsrad. The Imperial Summit would cancel the assassination attempts, which would be pretty bad for the rest of the lobby, but pretty good for the Harkonnens. Harkonnens, however, are a little light on their influence. They've got a potential, the highest potential influence bank. Well, I guess Ikaz's potential is higher now, but they could have banked up to 600 influence here, but they don't have that. Harkonnens ask for a 1-minute pause. 1 minute, please. Give him a pause. Give him a pause. Give the man a minute. That's all right. 1 minute's reasonable, I think. The Imperial Summit does not pass, obviously. Everybody else voted that down because they would like to murder this man. The Ikaz take the opportunity to opportunistically steal a Water Sellers Union for themselves. That's all right. Nobody particularly cares about the Water Sellers Union. Probably the weakest of all of the charters. And a sale incentive for the Vernius. I think they just didn't want, the Harkonnens just didn't want that on themselves. Sale incentive is dangerous. At the start of the next council, you lose 20 Solari per your Chom shares, which would be pretty bad for the Harkonnens because they would lose like 10,000 Solari from that because they're sitting at 520 Chom shares. Womp, womp, womp. It's not how pause is supposed to be used. Well, he didn't say why he needed a pause. For all we know, he spilled a cup of coffee on his keyboard. All right, we're ready. We're getting back underway here. Army-wise, Harkonnens at 65 command points, 37 smugglers, 40 Vernius, 50 Ikaz. So nobody else has managed to max out. Everyone's rapidly rebuilding, but the Harkonnens are going to be the first ones back to full size. This is also starting to get a little more defended in mid as turrets come online over in Sadno. Sadno. I'd like to... Okay, Ikaz is over here fighting renegades. I think maybe losing... Are they running from the renegades? Ikaz are so tough. It's really hard, the balance of getting your army not wiped and getting rebuilt takes so long. They're just checking to see if the smugglers are ready. And we're go. We're online. I gotta assume Harkonnens are working on some cell searches. Yep. Now they do not have who is it? It's Pitter. They're one guy who allows them to pay or sacrifice it. What? They can always sacrifice an agent. Pitter just makes it better. But I think the Harkonnens could always sacrifice an agent to complete an operation instantly. Which they're a tad low on agents. I'll give them that. But that is often what you want to do as the Harkonnens, because you can get those cell searches done really quickly. The progress factor for the smugglers is not good. They need this assassin to get in somewhere. And where is he going? He's got to be careful. If he walks by the main base, he'll get spotted and killed. He doesn't want to do that. Okay, now he's walking back north. This is getting searched. It's the most obvious spot. So the smugglers are trying to contest it, but they don't have enough men here. Harkonnens will clean this up. They will get this searched, and they will get this removed at least. And then that's going to put quite a damper on the smuggler assassination, because they're not going to be able to update their progress factor. So the assassination is going to languish a bit. The other, they could go all the way back there for their other cell. It's a long walk for an assassin that doesn't have too much supply. I think the smuggler assassination might be doomed. Vernius, meanwhile... I don't even see any infiltration cells for Vernius. There's one here, right behind the base. That's a terrible spot to place an infiltration cell. Don't put them there. You can't get an assassin there because the base has a big circle around it that you can detect things. So he'll see an assassin coming and shoot at him. So you'll never be able to re-up at that one. Not there. Not there. Maybe one was there and got picked off. I think both of these assassination attempts are doomed, actually. Progress factor pretty low on Vernius. I don't see any assassins marching around to get stuff done. I think Harkonnens are going to weather this assault. Oh, Vernius is walking, but he's also out of water. He only had 105 supplies. He's trying to make it to this village. I don't think he's going to. He also gets shot by missiles. Tragedy. Tragedy for Vernius and the smugglers. Victory for the Harkonnens. They're looking very solid. Up to 36% in the Chom shares. Sitting on a bank of 17,000 Solari. Very, very strong. Very, very strong. Solus confirms he was watching his camera POV and he was in fact AFK during his pause. Okay. Good, good. No harm, no foul then. All right, how we feeling, folks? It looks to me like Lobster has his competition a bit outclassed here. He's been very solid in his defenses, his attacks, his decision making, his micros all looked pretty good. I don't have any particular issues with the choices he's made or how he's going about things. So the one problem maybe is that he's entering a very dangerous sort of endgame scenario and he doesn't have the very valuable civilian defense force or border defenses online yet. I think arguably you probably don't need Symbols of Authority or Savage Cleansing at this point. Border defense would have been way more useful as you're entering this point in time. He's sitting at the most hegemony, funny enough, 20k from stealing. He's sitting on 4 special regions. There is a 31 a day tick for the Harkonnens, 38 for the smugglers. They're pretty close behind. 27 a day for Vernius. Both of them are pretty reasonable. 25 a day for the ECAS, but ECAS are just so light on territory, not a lot to work with. They are cleaning out this renegade base. This is interesting decision making here. They're going to clean out this renegade base. I assume they're going to steal this spice field from underneath Vernius. Vernius is going to be pretty upset about that. It could lead to a war between these two people who really need to be united in their hate of the Harkonnens at this point in time. We do indeed see... Has he chosen something? Yep, it is an annex going down. Okay, Ikaz taking that. If I was Vernius, I'd be pretty mad about that. Yep, and indeed we see Vernius attacking. I mean, that is right in his backyard. The S-Vault is a stone's throw away. You can't allow the enemy to hold a dagger to your throat like that. Especially an enemy who is not as threatening, right? Ikaz almost back up to a 65 command point army. Actually, it's a bigger force than Vernius has technically, but the terrain certainly favors Vernius. Vernius could fall back just a little bit and all of a sudden their main base can start shooting out at him. And Harkonnens are just chilling. They're able to go back, do a bit more pillaging, a bit more annexing. I think they're skating in really nicely to an end game. 400 spice a day Harkonnen production at a 3.6 cell rate means they're making 1.2 thousand Solari every day. Way, way more than the rest of the lobby put together. Yeah, Hark's looking pretty good. Harks and Vernius both sitting on max banks of authority. Could do some expanding. Vernius at the very least could be expanding up through, you know, one of the funniest things to do. It's just more combat here. Sorry, Vernius and Ikaz weren't done. He needs to be more. Kater is actually getting out here and fighting. which if really carefully used... Oh, no, he's dead. I was gonna say, if really carefully used, can be interesting because he also has an ability to like instantly kill a unit, so you can get some interesting value if you're really careful with his use. But this has not been careful use of him. This has been using him as a frontliner tank or fighter, and that's not how he works. He's an assassin who needs to like kill a guy and like run away and hide, or just stay hiding the whole time. It does appear to be enough to chase the ECAS off, but a steep price to lose your hero just as soon as he was back online for Vernius. Judge of the Council online, sort of an interesting one. Only ECAS and Harkonnens are eligible for it. Allows you to spend your influence to train guards and judges, which both judges are range units that deal more damage inside your borders. Guards are melee units that are very tanky and take significantly less damage when they're inside your borders. So super powerful defensive units that, again, you can buy for influence, I believe, not manpower. So sort of an interesting option here. Generally, people kind of pick up this charter and then never think about it again. But every once in a while, you see some guard or judge play that's very interesting. Labor rights, not too big a deal. It will slow down the economies of everyone, but honestly, it's probably even fine for the Harkonnens because it hurts everybody else as much or more than it hurts the Harkonnens. The Harkonnens are making so much they can practically ignore the Solari upkeep increased, while everyone else will be economically in a bit more pain from it. Crick says the Harks are crawling up my backside. Labor rights does pass via ECAS and smuggler votes. ECAS, thanks to Vernius, really gets Judge of the Council. They just didn't want it to go to the Harkonnens. And the Harkonnens oppose the water regulations, which is minus authority. Water regulations is really painful. It stops any sort of, ooh, we do have the Harkonnens up the backside. They are expanding into ECAS territory, trying to take an ECAS spice field. Very interesting. I love that. He didn't need to do that, but it's it'll be a little extra. It's a little extra of him. It's gonna spur some aggression. Vernius says does not quite have their full army online. Only 52 of 55, 47 of 55. Someone's dying. Get your army together, my man. You got some fight engineers back here who are not grouped up. You don't have any melee units. There's no tanks online. I'm a little concerned that the militia and the missile turrets are going to win this fight. There's one fighting mech. Pull your resonance drones back. Don't let them be tanking stuff. I don't know if you need to kill the missile turrets here as much as you need to kill the militia. If you kill the militia and you start sieging the village, then the missile turrets turn offline. Indeed, I think the militia have won the fight. Vernius is forced to retreat. Down south, the ECAS coming in on the Harkonnens. Looks like the Harkonnens maybe backed away to... No, the Harkonnens are flying. Okay, now they're flying back. Yep. The Harkonnens flew up to fight to fight Vernius, saw that they didn't need to do that, and they have flown back. Oh, ECAS is running across the desert with a worm in the region. Okay, I think he's maybe safe. He does get chased off by the Harkonnens. We've got 51 command points of 55. Why doesn't people have the right command points? Do people... Okay, ECAS is going in again at a command point mismatch. We're seeing some decent targeting. They're putting... The ECAS put down the executioners first. Now they got to clear up these Cerberus. Unfortunately, you want to kill all of the Harkonnens first. Worm sign. Are people going to be able to get off the worms? The Cerberuses are doing great work. Shai-Hulud does show up. I think he just ate maybe like a single musketeer. It didn't look too bad. But the Cerberuses, or the sleeper agents that are spawning from stuff. Oh yeah, so yeah, the sleeper agents are what spawn from his ability that he drops. That's getting a lot of use for him. What is that? Sleeper agents. All non-temporary, non-mechanical units have a 50% chance to spawn a sleeper agent on death. And the sleeper agents are basically like little Cerberuses. They actually have really high DPS for super high attack speed. Unfortunately, ECAS cleaned up there, didn't quite have a critical mass of units. It does give an opportunity for the smugglers to march in. Smugglers who have made almost literally nothing but snipers. The man likes his snipers. He's got 2 scavengers for a front line and a dozen snipers. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. The assassination's technically still ongoing. They need to be canceled. This one's at 1% progression factor, and it's costing him 78 intel and 78 Solari a day to keep up. This one's at 2% progression, and it's costing him 74 intel and 74 Solari a day. It's crashing your economy, boys. Cancel it if you can't do it. You have to pay upkeep to keep your assassination attempt ongoing, and that upkeep increases over time and gets quite painful. We see currently negative 62, negative 64 intel, 0 intel of Smugglers of Vernius, and you might be surprised to know this, but intel's fairly important. All right, we're gonna have a rumble. Harkonnen's coming in. Smugglers don't love this. Are they able to get some big Alpha Strike shots off? They are picking off some Harkonnen units, but there's too many Harkonnen units. Actually, because everyone are using such low armor armies here, the Harkonnen Cerberus are able to really get some incredible value. Cerberuses are great units. They do a lot of damage. They die easily, but you don't care if they die, because if they do, they split into 2 more units. Harkonnen's more than happy to trade their lives for time and space, and in this case, they're trading their lives for their opponent's lives. Looking really good. The Harkonnen army composition has been on point as well. I think Smugglers could probably do with some expanded use of their what are the special guys named? The Free Company. The Free Company are pretty amazing because they do also a very extraordinarily high DPS against unarmored units. And you know who doesn't have armor? Cerberuses have only 1. Gunners have only 1. Executioners have a crap load of armor. That's true, but that's what the snipers are for. The Cerberuses and the gunners you could cleave through with some Free Company if you were really careful with your micro and your positioning. Harkonnens emerge unscathed. Not only unscathed, but they came out ahead because they did steal this spice field from the ECAS. Devastating. Devastating. Harkonnen's up to 4 spices at the moment. Why only 4? Someone got some spice field up. Oh, this spice field is revolting, but that'll get put down in a minute, and they'll be back at max capacity here. 24,000 Solari in the bank for them, looking pretty solid. ECAS, unfortunately, in the pits of despair down here, as is so often the case with ECAS. They're such a lovely pink color. ECAS is really my inspiration for making a lot of my channel stuff pink. I really like the vibe. You know, pink's not the most masculine of colors, but sometimes you don't need to be masculine. Sometimes it's okay to be a nice frilly covering over your mailed fist, right? ECAS are the knights, and they could do a fine job killing people, but they need stuff to be in. They need all their ducks in a row. Everything needs to be lined up properly for the ECAS to really be a proper steamroller. And if they stop steamrolling, then it takes a long time to come back online. Poor ECAS, but still my favorite. Good luck, Crix. He's going to have an uphill battle to get back in this game. He needs everybody else to really be stabbing and knifing each other. We did finally get the assassinations canceled, and so that's why your Dire 2 gods are in pink. It's true. I do make my Dawn of War armies all pink, half because pink is a fun color, and half because I want them to know it was me, right? I want them to know who they're fighting. If you run into the hot pink guardsman, you know it's Davok's army that comes for you. I don't want anyone to be confused about who just kicked their ass. Another Landsrat online. Diplomatic Congress? It would be fine for the Harkonnens. Would take a little heat off of them, force everybody to have to break treaties to come at them again. I don't think there's anything else they really need to go out and take, so they'd be happy with truces. Controlled markets would be good also to put on the Harkonnens from everyone else to try to lower the spice exchange rate, stop some of that rampant income. I'm half surprised that we haven't already seen the Harkonnens Choman above 40%. Currently sitting at 37%. Shares are pretty expensive, about 4,000, 4,500 for 20. But the Harkonnens are sitting on 2,500, so they could buy like 100 shares still. Current market has 1,500 shares on sale, so you would need, what, 750, 775? You'd need about 780 shares to win, so the Harkonnens are about 200 shares off of victory, complete victory. You know, and we figured they could probably buy roughly around 100 with their current bank. After that, it gets tricky because you start running into not enough shares being on sale. You know, it's complicated, folks. But needless to say, the Harkonnens quite close to a Chom victory here, and they've proven to be totally capable of defending themselves. And I haven't seen anything that suggests the other guys have been close to beating the Harkonnens in any of these fights. So ideally, I think what you want is you want a proper tag team. You want to coordinate with your folks, and you want the smug, you know, if the Harkonnens beat you one-on-one, then don't take a one-on-one fight. Make it a two-on-one fight. Hell, make it a three-on-one fight. What if all three players brought their armies in the middle? Hopefully everybody is making some intel again, so you can prepare your supply drops, and just have all three armies walk on the Harkonnen main base, which is perilously close to the middle. We talked about that in the beginning. Gives the Harkonnen nice access to taking over some of this middle stuff, but also leaves them rather exposed, right? If they were deeper in their territory, it would be way harder to get to. But if this was a proper pro level game, I would be very wary as the Harkonnens of like three armies just, you know, massing up and all walking at your main base. Like, effectively, there's nothing you could do about that. It all depends on the coordination of those three guys breaking down, or someone not having supplies and their water running out, or someone like, you know, someone backstabbing someone else. And speaking of backstabs, we do have another annex over here going down by the Ekaz. Ekaz and Vernius are still at war. I don't know why Ekaz wants this spice field so badly. This one is a much more reasonable one to try and take from the Vernius. The annex is going to go down. I don't think Vernius has even seen it because it's so audacious, but it happens. Ekaz gets it. They want a little more spice in their coffers. I think it's trouble for the lobby. I think we're on a very slow slide into a Harkonnen win. 2 + 4 = 6. Thanks so much for hanging out, buddy. We'll see you around later, and you can always come back and catch the rest of this, because I think we'll be at it for quite some time today. I'm already pleased with this game. This one's been pretty fun, pretty entertaining. I think that everyone's letting the pedal off a little bit on the gas at this point in time as they try to reevaluate what they're going to do, but so far it's been a fun game. It's been a fun game. Thanks for joining us, brother. Thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks for hanging out in the views and the chat. We appreciate you. Harkonnens starting to just sort of go ahead and annex the rest of their territory. That's not always a great idea, but I think they're bored. Like, for example, the lower Urg up here doesn't really give you anything. I guess at this point in time, they're doing it just to get extra hegemony, and indeed they can probably push for a hedge victory. I think what we can see here is the Harkonnens could probably just go straight to hedge and win on hegemony, which is seems also more or less a foregone conclusion unless the alliance over here can figure out how to coordinate. And then if they can't quite get the hegemonic victory, then they've always got the spice to fall back on. Chom market sitting at 36%. They did actually pick up 20 more shares, but not a lot. They're just, ooh, they're negative 500? What's the negative? Oh, they're not selling any spice at the moment. They're just banking. And I was like, why aren't they? That doesn't make any sense. They're making 563 spice a day. Some of the highest spice income I've seen in a long, long time. That is a hell of a lot of spice, my friends. And now they're selling and probably going to be making a lot of money. I guess the rate's pretty terrible. 1.1. Oh, they did get the controlled markets on them. That's why they're suffering so much. So they stockpiled up to the max of what they were allowed to stockpile, and now they're just selling because there's nothing else they could do. Selling into a 1.1 rate, about nearly the worst imaginable. Vernius didn't hear no bell. I'm not sure what Vernius is doing. He's getting a little split. Some units marching forward, some units marching backwards. Some units are back here. He's trying to liberate that stuff from Ekaz. What are you doing, my man? Okay, he's backing up. He's backing up. He's realized he's a little misplaced. Up here, looks like Shockwave is watching the stream because he has gone for a different army composition, let's say. The Free Company, they come. Look at these boys. 16 power, 10 attack speed. That is a very high attack speed and a pretty reasonably high power. We'll see how it goes. Vernius spending a little bit too much time hemming and hawing here, and his organic units are running out of supply. Oh, Vernius, no. Go back home. Go back home. Kater and the fight engineers need water while the drones do not. So they're out of supplies. They've got to go back. I think he's getting his control groups a little mixed up. The micro is a bit much for him. We do have movement along the front. On the southern front, ECAS trying to get their spice field back, and the Harkonnens are responding in force. Run, ECAS! Run away! Run! Okay, they want to run, but there's also a worm behind them. No, they decided not to run, and they decided to die, which is the wrong choice. Running through worm territory is a better choice than standing there and let the Harkonnens kill everything you have. But we also have a base snipe attempt going down. That's what the Free Company were trying to do. Defense sabotage going down. There was 2 defense sabotages. Did nobody do what's the thing we're looking for here? The defense breaches. We don't have a defense breaches. That's a critical mistake. We're getting good damage, but the defense breaches are huge, and I don't see it on them right now. Loss of rights comes up. That would be bad for ECAS, who's managed to get his hands on at least 2 options. Oh, Spacing Guild resources that would make the Harkonnen base heal and be basically invulnerable for the next period. Harkonnens would love that. Although also portfolio scrutiny means you can't buy Chom shares. The right move here is to stop the Harkonnens from Spacing Guild resources. Indeed, we do have a smuggler bounty on the Oppose and the Harkonnen taint on it. The lobby needs to make sure this doesn't go the way of the Harkonnens, because there is... I don't think they're going to kill the base, but it's going to be much weaker after this, which gives the... we still got some game to be played here, which gives the opportunity for them to come back and do it again. We'll see how that goes. Portfolio scrutiny not being able to buy shares for a month is really not that big a deal. They can live without that. Very interesting, very interesting. Okay, so this does pass. Vernius and Smugglers made sure of it. And then this does pass. All factions cannot buy Chom shares. The Harkonnens made that pass. Interesting. Cannot buy Chom shares. And they could sell Chom shares to get 3 hedge. Are the Harkonnens going to sell their Chom? Okay. Harkonnens have flown back home. They are going to clean up the smuggler snipe attempt. But in the meantime, they did lose quite a bit. Starting health was 40,000. It's down to 23,000. That's quite a bit. Almost 50% of the Harkonnen base chunked off. ECAS repelled in the south. Oh, Lord. I think the Harkonnens sold all their Chom. Victory for the Harkonnens here. There's an easy way to check here. If we look at our Chom shares, the Chom shares dip by quite a bit. Where's the hegemony? Hegemony here climbs up by quite a bit at the end. I think it might have just been timed. Did we pay a spice tax maybe? Could have been a spice tax, could have been those Chom shares sold. Harkonnens just powered through right to hedge right at the end there. Did they get any extra last second? Oh, they did. They did. Look, they annexed here. They annexed here. It was a proper boom. And maybe here as well. And here as well? Did he? Oh, yeah, look. 1 unit, 1 unit, 1 unit, 1 unit. So he had it. All of these were very low from all of the instill fear pillaging, so he could have enough authority to annex them. He did 4 annexes all at the same time. At the same time, the portfolio scrutiny goes through, so you could sell Chom shares to get extra hedge per share. So you can get you can sell your Chom off for extra hegemony. Very solid, a nice boom from Lobster on the Harkonnens. Very solid win. I did love the base snipe attempt. It wasn't perfectly executed. If we had had a defense breaches prepared, and if ECAS had been in the loop and just walked all the way over and helped, it would have been really close if the timing was right. But they got him to 50%, which is a decent attempt. A pretty good job. Nobody just sat back and you know blindly ecoed or anything. It was a good, proper fight. Can we get back to that end screen? Exit. No, I don't want to exit. What's my end game summary? There it is. Yeah, we could look at developments. Obviously, the knowledge is pretty good, except for when they were broke. We expect that. The Solari production was just sort of off the charts. The Harkonnens had some good spice fields there, and were just making a lot of money. Didn't even really use it. At the end of the game, they're sitting on 20,000. Territory-wise, oh yeah, territory-wise, right? Regions, look at this. The Harkonnens are sitting at 15 regions, and when they win the game, they have 20 regions. So it was 5 regions annexed at the same time. The old Harkonnen instill fear hedge boom, right? Once again, how that works is when they pillage, because they're unique technology, instill fear, when they pillage a village, it's 10% less authority for them to annex it. So the villages behind the Harkonnen base, they'd been pillaging all game long, so there were 5 or 6 or 7 instill fears stacked up on them. So they only cost like 30 or 40% of the amount of authority to annex. So he was able to annex all of them at the same time, and boom, straight up to victory. And then, of course, once the spice tax rolls around, I think we probably hit that. The spice tax pays you out about 1,200 or so extra hegemony, and he was straight to the moon. Really solid play from the Harkonnens. Very impressive lobster. Well done. I also appreciate that he's lobster and he's red, lobster red. Very nice. Thematically and color appropriate. Very clean. And the chome sail was, I think the chome sail was just, you know, a little bit of sugar on top. I don't know that he even needed. Maybe it helped push him a little bit, but he would have been fine. He would have hit victory even without the chome sail. We didn't even see that much move. If we look at chome shares, so he's at 37%, and he drops down to like 30%. So he sold 7% of his shares. Would have been, you know, some amount of hedge there, but not a huge amount. The huge amount was really from the mass annex back there. Pretty nicely played. Pretty nicely played. Let me check and see how the wider tournament is going. Let's see. We've got a winner in Pod 3. Ninja Spooter on Hedge as ECAS. A beautiful game. Pod 1 was Dinny, D-N-I-I, Dinny, on Chome as Harkonnen, a player kill and a non-traditional win. Love that. Pod 2, Lobster on Hedge as Harkonnens. Again, a base kill and a beautiful game. Wasn't properly a base kill. It was an attempted base kill, but it got stopped at the final moment. Ooh, do we have? I don't know if I don't know we have a Pod 4 winner up yet, but we have a finals pod cooking, so we'll just go and join to that. Pretty good, pretty good. That was a fun game. I like that one. Hope you guys are down for some more Spice Wars, because we've got a finals match up for you here. All right. Now we may be sitting here for a little ways, because again, I don't know if Pod 4 finished. That was Mr. Trials, No Swag Sally, No Swag Sally, No Swag Sally. Cortez and Chris DBH are battling it out. Yeah, so a number of these players have just been raw dogging it, and some of these other players have sought training and advice and stuff from the community experts, as it were, in order to teach them some of that forbidden dark magic, like the instill fear in your back territory for the hedge boom cap at the end to surprise people. It's an old strategy, but it checks out. That was fun. That was fun. I enjoyed everything we saw there. Obviously, we need some of our new folks need a little more experience in combat. The biggest thing to know about combat is you really, really, really don't want to engage without your whole army being there. And by your whole army, I mean 65 out of 65 command points, right? If you run in with 40 and they fight you with 65, you're going to get smacked and they're not going to lose a single thing, right? And likewise, even just the movement of your units around, right? If your army is strung out, if you forgot 2 units back at base, if only 40 command points of your army engages with the enemy because the other 25 command points is still like running to get there, that is just as bad and just as much of a problem if you're fighting the full enemy force there. So, it matters a lot having your army all there at the same time. You got to get there firstest with the mostest. It's classic military strategy. Amateurs talk strategy, pros talk logistics. You got to get everybody where they need to go. That's the first and most important part of warfare. All right, we probably have some chill time, so let's shoot the shit. What have you guys been up to lately? One of my buddies spun up a Project Zomboid server, just a little private one with 3 or 4 of us playing. So we've been playing some Project Zomboid. The new build 42 just went stable and full release for multiplayer not too long ago. So if you're an old Project Zomboid fan, there's all kinds of fun new stuff in it. The things that they do in that game are pretty amazing. It's a lot of fun. I love me some Project Zomboid. We've gone and we've made our way up into Louisville and taken over the Louisville bourbon distillery. And we've fortified it, and we're making that our outpost there as we raid into the city. It's been a lot of fun. One of our buddies just finished up some blacksmithing and has started making swords for us. So we're going out in the city and cleaving through the zombie hordes with our swords. It's great fun. I've also been playing a little bit of the old, the new Mistfall Hunter, which is a third-person, sort of twitchy combat loot extractor kind of thing. You're like a warrior with a greatsword, or you're a wizard with spells, or an archer, or a warrior with a shield and a sword. And you drop into a map and you run around the map finding loot and fighting bosses, and sometimes you run into other players and you fight them, and then you try and extract and take your loot home with you. That sort of stuff's always fun. I never quite enjoyed the ones with guns as much. I love the ones with the versions of that game and genre with swords, and that's what Mistfall is. So I've been having a good time with some Mistfall Hunters, very casually, not hardcore at all. I've been having a good time with some Company of Heroes 3. Company of Heroes 3 is in such a good spot, and they just recently released the Last Stand mode, which is, a PvP, almost tower defense style version. You're just on the defensive as waves and waves of enemies attack you. I've been having a lot of fun with that. I almost just did like a stream of it the other day, and I probably should. I should just throw up some more random streams, because I know that you guys like to come and hang out. Some of you, at least. Some of you are just here for the spice, you spice addicts. Your glowing blue eyes, but some of you like just to hang out, and I appreciate that too. So we might do some weird stuff. Let's see, what else are we thinking about? Turn has been threatening us with a good time. He's had his eye on a big a mod for Bannerlord 2, where you can do like a total war or not like total war, but like a Warhammer version of Bannerlords, which again is like third person control, stab with swords, shoot with arrows kind of things, but like a huge multiplayer modded version. Turn's been thinking about trying to rally a giant game of that, which would be pretty fun. I don't know if you watched the Turn stream, maybe a month or 2 months ago or so. We did a giant battle in Minecraft of a Warhammer 3 Minecraft game. That was a ton of fun. I recorded all my play for that. I was the general of the Empire Army and had a great time with it. But unfortunately, I missed recording my audio channel that was on my microphone. So I had game audio, but I didn't have the microphone audio from like other people I was talking to. So it's just like the game sound and me talking, and you can't hear anybody else that I'm communicating with and like telling and what to do. So it didn't come out right. So I didn't really end up posting any of that. Unfortunately, it kind of screwed it up. My bad. Just 5 hours of recording that down the drain. But that was a ton of fun. We had a great time with that. I think there could be more of that in the future. I don't know if it did very well. We had 6 or 7 or 8 different YouTubers all doing it and recording and streaming stuff, and I don't know that anybody watched anybody's YouTube of it. You know, the Total War Warhammer YouTubers and the RTS YouTubers. We don't have a huge audience of Minecraft enthusiasts, but we had a good time playing it at least. Okay, looks like Pod 4 just finished up. Cortez is the victor there on Hegemony as the Atreides. A base kill and a long fight as Hegemon. All right, cool. You love to hear it. Those other games sounded pretty good. Lordy Lord, I do wish we had a replay feature. Probably the saddest part for me of the Dune Spice Wars no longer being developed is that we never quite got to replays. As a sort of a content creator for it, it really is just pain and suffering. The only way I can give you guys, something to watch is to do it live. And life is pretty difficult to do 2-hour games live that you need to correspond with 3 or 4 other people. Tricky. I don't have that kind of free time to just sort of do that on the regular. Fortunately, this sort of thing was planned weeks in advance. I knew this was coming, so I sent the family away. I told the wife I would be abandoning all of my, household duties, all of my duties and responsibilities as a father and as a partner. Not today. There's Spice Wars to be played and talked about. All right, we ought to have folks making their way in here. I think all the lobbies are done. We got Ninja Spooter. We've got Lobster. We'll have Dinny. And Cortez should be joining us shortly. Got Johnny Drama, Misa Like Pie, Cream, myself, spectating and casting as well. We should be going pretty soon here, pretty soon. What else have we been up to? Oh, something else that I've been up to that some of you folks might be interested in. And I know you guys love hearing me talk. Why else would you be here? Some of my buddies and I, some real life buddies, people that I actually see in Meat Space, we have started to work on a podcast for board games. You guys know me as a video gamer, but I'm also an expert board gamer as well. And we figured, hey, we play board games and we talk about board games all the time, my buddies and I. We might as well record ourselves in case anybody else wants to listen to us talk about them as well, right? We're middle-aged white guys. We should start a podcast. That's what we do at this point in our lives. That's the stage that we are in. We're in this podcast starting stage of our lives. So, I don't have anything I can point you to yet, but just sort of a little teaser to come. I think we're calling it Roll, Rant, and Repeat. We're gonna pick out weird board games. We're gonna play them a couple times, and we're gonna get together and we're gonna talk about them. What makes them unique? What makes them an interesting game? How our experience with it was. We have a long experience of a lot of game playing for the board game spheres. One of my buddies on the podcast is a degenerate board game collector and literally owns thousands of games, thousands of board games. He has rooms in his house that are like warehouse storage racks, floor to ceiling, loaded with board games. He's got a problem, but the good news is me and the other buddies all get access to a limitless supply of board games that we could play all of the coolest shit in the world. So super fun. So we're gonna put that to good use. We're gonna play weird games and we're gonna talk about them. And eventually I'll post some links here and send you guys over to take a look at them in case you're interested. In case you like some board games yourself, or maybe you just like some yapping. There'll be some more of that in the future as well. So that's been fun. Been keeping me busy. Yeah, we used to have midlife crises. Now we just start a podcast. Yeah, I'm not gonna buy a sports car, although that would be fun. That's a lot more expensive than starting a podcast. Rooms, plural of board games. Yeah, it is a problem. The amount of board games that they own is literally a problem, like in their home and in like his personal relationships. But like I said, from an outsider perspective, it is a fabulous resource to have access to. But you guys didn't know you could, some of you guys didn't know you could fill rooms with board games, but indeed we have been in a golden age of incredible board game design for the last 20 years or so. So there are board games out there like you can't even imagine, my friends. Crazy, crazy stuff. Who are we missing? We got Denny. We need Cortez. We need a Cortez still in here. Almost ready to go. We should get started quite soon here. We're headed into the finals of our Dune Spice Wars Summer Beginners Tournament, hosted by our good friends on the circuit. I think today was mostly tournament managed by Misa Like Pie, and also with Cream as well. There's Cortez. Here we go. He's got 3 Calyx cubes of board games and think that it's too many. Yeah, right. So one of the ways that we're not doing like a review of board games, but one of the ways that we talk about board games is like, my one buddy has a small collection, so he's very careful to curate what he keeps and what he doesn't keep. I have like a medium-sized collection. I have like several bookcases full of board games. So like, is this game good enough for me to add to my medium-sized collection? And then my buddy has the large collection of, thousands in rooms. So is it worthwhile for him to even keep it around, or is he going to sell it and take up that space with something else? So that's kind of how we grade stuff. If it's a really incredible game, then you find space to fit it into even your small collection. If it's a really good game, maybe it fits in the medium collection, and if it's at least sort of good, then it can fit in the large collection, right? But yeah, it's so common that one of the things people are trying to do in the board game sphere is curate down to a more manageable thing, because it's very easy to just be a collector, because board games sort of are innately fun to have around because they're cool shaped boxes. They've got really cool art on them. They're associated with all kinds of like fun memories that you have and things. But you often find out if you do too much of that, you reach a point where it's like, oh, we've got too many board games, and now I have a wife and she wants me to have less board games. Something along those lines. Or there's just not enough space in the house for all these board games. So there tends to be some curation required. So that's one part of the podcast is trying to judge things on whether it's worth fitting into the curated cabinet of games that you're keeping around. It's really fun, really good stuff. Okay, what about faction picks? I assume I'm just gonna leave that up to Cream and Misa. We're figuring it out, he says. There are overlaps. Yes, okay, because we had 2 Harkonnens, 1 Ekaz, and 1 Atreides. Both Lobster and Dinny were on the Harkonnens, so one of them is going to end up not Harkonnen-y. They may do a full faction pick where they just sort of randomize it and give people numbers and be like, you're first, pick whatever faction you want, and you're second, pick whatever faction you want. That's pretty rough, especially I know on this tournament they worked really hard to make sure, because they're beginners, we expect people not to have mastery of like every faction, right? I know they worked really hard to organize the pods so that people would have like their first pick of faction, because it's really hard it's really hard to practice for a tournament on many different factions. Dinny has got first pick and he has taken Harkonnen. Second pick is Lobster, who wanted Harkonnen. We'll see what Lobster opts for instead. Lobster, my man, you were an amazing Harkonnen player. Have you got anything else in the bag? How's your play? Have you got a deeper toolkit to reach in for here? Hopefully you practiced something else besides the Harkonnens, because it was always possible that this kind of scenario would come up. We'll see what it goes. Ekaz? Is it properly an Ekaz pick? I love to see it. Lobster on the Ekaz. Yes, a man after my own heart. Cortez up next. We assume he's on Atreides, which should mean the old Ninja... Oh, Ninja Spooter was Ekaz previously, though, and now he got picked. He got picked out by Lobster by taking the Ekaz from him. Ninja says he needs a second. He's thinking. He's got to go read tooltips. It's tricky. It does suck to lose access to your main faction, especially as the stakes get higher. Tricky. We're seeing if anyone wants to join in the Discord voice channel. The players often are in Discord together. I have always been, and I know this is sort of my unpopular opinion. Excuse me. Sort of my unpopular opinion of Dune. I've always been of the mind that the game works really well when you're not on Discord. I think the errors and the mistakes and the difficulty to communicate between different empires that happens when you have to type it out to someone, to me, in a free-for-all game, that feels like part of the fun. I love when, it's critical that these 2 people work together to achieve this objective, but they're having a hard time communicating to do so. I love when that kind of messes up, when people don't work quite right. When you're all on Discord, it's much easier to be like, okay, I'm attacking the Harkonnen base in 3 seconds, 3, 2, 1, and like everybody can coordinate really well. And Honestly, coordination is overpowered in the game. If you're doing really well, it's very easy to just lose entirely because your three opponents started coordinating together really tightly with one another. So I appreciate personally when there's a little more friction in that coordination and it's not quite as smooth as voice chat. But that's just me, and that is my unpopular opinion. Jai, me and my buddies just bought this game after playing a bunch of Civ 6, criminally underrated. Yeah, this is a fantastic game, right? Some Dune Spice Wars is really the only game that has nailed the free-for-all style of gameplay as well as it does, right? There are multiple different ways to chase a victory. There are multiple different ways to sort of slow down your opponents. One of the things that this game does amazingly that so many other games don't do in the free-for-all sphere is Dune Spice Wars gives you really, really strong information about what's going on in the world and how all the other players are doing, right? Imagine playing Age of Empires 4 is another big free-for-all game. People play Age of Empires 4 for free-for-all all the time, and it's a great game mode. It's super fun. But imagine if you could always see the whole map in Age of Empires 4, right? That would be a completely different freaking game if you could see everything at all times. And effectively, you kind of can in Dune Spice Wars. You could see the whole map. And that extra information it gives you allows you to make better decisions about who to attack, who not to attack, who you might need to, you know, make an alliance with, who you need to team up with against the other guy, you know. So it allows, the more information allows a lot more interesting dynamics in free-for-all. Oftentimes in games that have low information, you see one player kind of runs away with it, right? If Carino never had any idea what the Harkonnens were doing, and the Harkonnens were able to come over here and kill the Ikaz before anyone even knew it, and go up and kill the Atreides before anyone even knew it, and then Carino meets the Harkonnens, but the Harkonnens have already taken over the whole map, like, that would be a very different kind of game mode, right? Never mind, that's my rant at high information versus low information free-for-all games. High information, better, and that is what Dune Spice Wars is, because it allows you to make good decisions, and the decision making is all what it's about in a fun game like this. There's certainly some execution, absolutely some execution critically important in this, but the decision making and having the information to make the good decisions is what's fun, and also really great from a spectator's standpoint. We can see, we have even a little extra information about what's going on than everybody else does, so we could sort of see the decisions that they should make if they had done those extra steps to like get that information themselves. Anyways, we're in the game. Here we go. Archduchess Armanda Ikaz. Thanks for joining, folks. Piloted by Lobster, our champion from the last game, over here on the pink faction, looking great. Has their spice field locked down and some pretty decent benefits. We love versatile, 20% extra resource production if you got a building of each type. 20% extra resources on your first spice field is a very nice economic benefit. And 3 Solari per military building. Not great, but you were going to build one anyways, at least, to make versatile, so it incentivizes your early manpower building a little bit, I guess. But pretty decent. He's gone for Ebo Vip, of course, allows you to use that Landsrat immunity. And we've got a Rivi Dinari here, the Swordmaster's teacher. Military units at max level have no Solari upkeep, and military units start with 1 more experience level. I like Rivi myself. I think Rivi is a little underappreciated for the Ikaz. Ikaz love having an army that is big and maxed out, and she makes that even better and a little easier to get to, at least with the bonus experience level. It still doesn't help at all. Nothing helps at all. The critical weakness of having 2 less training slots, but Rivi's fun. I like Rivi. I like to play her sometimes. We've got 1 spice, maybe 2 spice down south. Definitely a 3 spice right next to him. Maybe a spice way up by the... No, probably not. I gotta think that will be Carino favored. A little tight on the spice. 2 or 3 spices for Ikaz. We'll see how it goes. But economically not super great to work with. They do have a space cruiser wreck, which is very nice. Gives you the free Spacing Guild favor. Safely nestled in their backfield. Down south, they also have a great volcano for the extra double fuel cell production. That's also pretty nice. Ikaz quite fond of fuel cells. They really like to have their spaceship out, and they really like to have a number of their war banners up as well as their army. Actually, we've got a shitload of fuel cells for them. Another fuel cell region over here, and the flat, and another fuel cell region over here. There'll be plenty of fuel cells to go around for the ECAS. So what do you do if you have too many fuel cells? Then you can use them to build extra bonus super buildings. You know, military factories, the spaceship factory, the guild factories, blah, blah, blah. I'm forgetting all the names of all the stuff that you build. Can I click on them? They don't let me click through the menus. But you know, some of the super buildings that you can only have one each of in your empire, those take your fuel cells to maintain. So if you've got extra fuel cells, you could just pump them into there too. And to the north, actually, they've got Well of Riches with a very favorable village placement. So the Well of Riches is pretty good too. And right in front of them, they've got a Moondew Vale. Moondew Vale kind of sucks. At ground units lose supply at negative 50% speed, and buildings here consume no water. It's not great, but hey, it is a free and easily accessible special. And actually, they take that special and then they take that spice field, and they have a very easy early sanctuary right by their base too. That's pretty nice. Honestly, I'm pretty happy. I'd be pretty happy with that spot. With that spot for a start for ECAS. I think Lobster will be able to cook with that. He can do some work there. That looks pretty good to me. Let's move on up to Corino, Ninja's Spooter up here on House Corino. Of course, you've got Princess Urulon. She is non-negotiable, allowing you to build an extra non-major village building one more time anywhere in your empire. And the Hasimir Fenring, also very common, very meta, lets you pull discoveries off the map no matter super quickly, and you also don't need to be nearby them. Normally you can only pull off the little points of interest when you're adjacent to him, but Hasimir can grab them from anywhere. And resolving discoveries give him a little boost to his agent recruitment speed, which is, you know, beats a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. His starting region was a little extra water and a tiny bit of extra plascrete. That's not amazing. Down here, we've got a little better pillaging and a little bit of plascrete as Solari. That's okay. Honestly, a little underwhelming for some of these. Down here you've got the rare elements. Now the regions right around the Imperial base for Corino is very important because these will get extra quirk bonuses based on the Corino's special technology. And we're looking at leave me alone. We're looking at administrative consolidation. No, not that one. Imperial administration. Effects of village quirks are applied one more time in ally villages adjacent to the Imperial main base. So it's important to have good regions around your main base. But you don't really get any control of that. That's all RNG. First Landsrat is up. We got Diplomatic Committee for faster statecraft. That's not that big a deal. Foreign recruitment, kind of nice. Research investments for faster economy, kind of nice. And indeed, both economy and statecraft tech bonuses will pass. And ECAS, with 90 votes and a little bit of help from the minor houses, gets themselves minus 50% manpower recruitment costs. All right. So this one down here, you know, I do like analysts for extra intel. That's not too bad, but former soldiers militia slots sucks. And then over here we've got extra water. It's 100% of your village's water production as Solari, but it's only a 3-wind province, so it's going to be bad for producing water. Honestly, pretty terrible quirks all around for our poor Corino player here. Ninja Spooter is going to not have the best time with that. He does, however, have himself maybe the 2 best specials in the game. He has a nice, cozy white rift behind, the best possible thing that Corino could have. White Rift is amazing, 100% more craft workshop resource production. Corino with Urulon could build 2 craft workshops here. 2 craft workshops that work at twice the normal speed. So this, for Corino, almost counts as like 4 special regions worth of craft workshops. Insane. Insane. Best case scenario to get something like that for Corino. They also, to the north, have got themselves, maybe, it's a little equidistant between them and Atreides, but potentially a worm nest. Extra 25% spice in the region. Nothing too exciting on the quirks there, but everybody likes some spice. 1 spice, maybe 2 spice if they go south. 3 spice, 3 and a quarter spice if they go up north to the worm nest. To the front, towards the mid of the map, they do have a shield wall. Shield wall is not particularly useful. Makes the buildings in this region take 50% less upkeep. So you could build expensive stuff there and have it be cheap, but it's kind of shitty. It's kind of shitty. Yeah, I'm just like glancing through some of the quirks here, and there's just not a lot of good quirks to work with. They do at least have the research station also on the White Rift, which is kind of cool. Yep, nothing much to work with down here. I expect the Well of Riches to be ECAS, and then this might be contested. It'll depend. If I was Carino, where would I drop a base? If the village for the Well of Riches was on the northern part, I would drop a base here, but it's not. So that sucks. And you don't really need to protect the White Rift anymore. If you lose the White Rift to someone, you're already dead. You could drop a base just sort of right here in the middle. That gives you kind of a little bit of a strong point of control through the middle here. Helps you hold the shield wall, helps you hold this, and that helps you boost both the false wall west here and this wall a little bit. I don't know, it's not too exciting for me. I wouldn't drop it to the north. The terrain is just too tight. Not great spots. I think I probably drop here, although that gets rid of my only source of energy. I don't like any of it. I don't like any of the spots. I don't drop a base anywhere. I just keep my base all game. There's no good place to drop it. But the White Rift alone is a pretty S-tier spawn for Carino. So if they're able to grab a White Rift and a Worm Nest, they'll be feeling pretty good no matter what happens, even though they don't have a good spot to drop their base. I expect to see a base drop somewhere weird. Over to the Atreides. Atreides led by Cortez. Let me get a drink of water here. Some sweet, sweet water. Sorry. Here we go. Atreides, led by Cortez, have gone with Lady Jessica. The inimitable Lady Jessica can spend influence to force truces with another faction. Treaties with the Atreides cost no authority, and a faction betraying the Atreides loses 50 more Landsrad. Just off the bat, no diplomacy taking effect yet. The Atreides also have Thurfer Howat, which lets their agents have an extra trait and can hasten the building of village buildings, as well as the progress of missions. Atreides tried to trade with Carino. Carino declined. Carino, or Atreides over here, have gone for the fast spice expansion strategy. 1, 2, 3 spice fields were their first 3 annexes. Very interesting. First spice field does have the versatile, which is great, and local sourcing, which is also pretty good. Second spice field has extra recruitment offices and a little more plascrete. Third spice field has, statecraft and experience. Way of the Desert's pretty nice. Experience for all military units can be quite useful. Atreides does love an experienced army. So not the worst, but not the best. But 3 spice fields right off the bat is crazy. He's only able to build in 2 of them at the moment. Yeah, okay. Third spice refinery is going up. When you take 3 spice fields at first, the blocker actually becomes your plascrete, because the spice refinery takes 400 plascrete, and it's difficult to get that much online right off the bat. Let's see here. Special regions. So they see the worm nest up there. And the village for the worm nest is on the Atreides side of things. So there is a world where the Atreides come up and steal the worm nest before Carino can get there. And then it'll be difficult for Carino to deal with, because the closest way to get there is a long walk through the desert, a especially worm-infested desert, to even get there to try and take it back. So it's very defensible if the Atreides are able to get a hold of that. Other special regions for the Atreides. In the backfield, they've got a Crescent Ridge, 100% more water production, only a 4 wind. You'd love it to be 5, but 4 is okay. You've also got an Imperial Basin for the manpower. That's pretty good. We like that. A lot of territory between them and the Harkonnens. No deep desert separating them. We've got another Landsred comes up. Trial of the Great Houses. Nobody particularly wants to lose standing. We, of course, have all great houses. No smugglers, no Fremen. House Ekaz, House Carino, House Harkonnen, House Atreides, which means all of these people play a bit more into the political side of things, or at least have the capability to. You know, technically Fremen can, but they usually don't. Technically smugglers can, but they start really slow at it, and they don't speed up politically till much more later in the game. Okay, all factions do lose, courtesy of Carino, trying to send everybody back to the pits. Territory contest is... Ekaz made that pass. They want extra hedge for special regions. And all factions pass courtesy of the Atreides Chom subsidies, so you get a little extra plascrete for your Chom shares. Ekaz currently have one special region. They did grab the Moondew Vale and made the Sanctuary, just as I predicted. Does anyone else have any specials locked down at the moment? Not yet. Yep, Atreides just grabbed the Imperial Basin over there. That's good for them. No specials online yet for the Harkonnens. We haven't talked about them yet, but we'll get there. We were just talking about this wide open territory between the Harkonnens and the Atreides. Now, the Atreides are fast expanders. They generally like to grab as much territory as possible. Harkonnens like a lot of territory because they can pillage their way through it and get a lot of money from just access to a lot of village that they could burn down. They don't necessarily focus on annexing them as much. So both good for the Harkonnens and good for the Atreides to have stuff that they can do. There's a Sandfall here, kind of equidistant between the two of them. Sandfall is a nice bonus to knowledge income. Also energy sources on Sandfall, which is pretty good. Also versatile and youthful eagerness. Pretty good traits on that Sandfall. That would be a valuable one there. Other special regions, you know, the Polar Sink has a very Ekaz favored village spawn on it. This village spawn on the south side, right near Ekaz territory. You could put up definitely some missile turrets right here. I wonder if you could squeeze some right on this little spot of rock right on the edge here. If so, that would be a hell of a bunker. Well, maybe it might be able to. I'm not sure. Pretty respectable territory for the Atreides. Not amazing. It becomes slightly more amazing if they're able to grab the worm nest for themselves. Then they'll be sitting on at least a shitload of spice, and they can work with that. I anticipate some trouble with the Harkonnens, as is to be expected. The Harkonnens always a bit of trouble, but Harkonnens and Atreides probably going to butt heads a little bit. Ekaz and Harkonnens may potentially butt heads a little bit. Let's talk about some Harkonnens then. We've got, not Lobster this time, but we've got Dinny, D-N-I-I. I'm going to call him Dinny. Denis has opted for Kronvatia, which lets any of the villages you oppress build faster, and when you're oppressing things, you get extra manpower, and you get extra Solari when you kill rebels, which is fun, because you'll just be killing rebels. You'll be oppressing things, it'll make rebels, and you'll kill the rebels, and you'll get money. It's wonderful. Uman Kudu, who gives you a little extra manpower, a little faster recruitment time, and a little more armor if you've got operations active in those regions. Pretty good, pretty solid pickups. First spice field that came online for him did have Ingenious Mind, which is fantastic. 20% for economy buildings, just right off the bat, nothing extra you need to do. Extra militia slot on it is fine, makes it a little more durable if you've got rebellions there. Second spice field he grabbed over here, extra recruitment offices, extra experience. He has grabbed an observatory mountain to the north of him. That one potentially is better data centers and listening posts. What else are we looking at? So 1 spice, 2 spice. There's a 3rd spice down below, potentially contested between Ekaz and Harkonnens. Up above, there is a 3rd or 4th spice. That ought to be Harkonnen spice there, I think. That's pretty firmly in their slice of the pie. So at least 3 spice, and I think it looks like they're planning on trying to get here first for 4 spice. I love the army of... It's just 8 gunners. Harkonnen gunners are quite good, so what if we just made all gunners and nothing else? We are seeing some trades pop out. Atreides has taken non-aggression trade agreement and research agreement with the Harkonnens. Ekaz has taken non-aggression research trade, political agreement, the whole shebang from the Atreides. Harkonnens also took the political agreement. So we got full agreements between Atreides, Ekaz, and Harkonnens. I think they also proposed that to Carino, and Carino had declined. It makes sense with Lady Jessica, you no longer have to. Normally, when you have treaties with people, there's a small upkeep of authority that you pay, and you don't really love to give up authority. You like your to spend your authority on expanding your empire, not maintaining your treaties. But Lady Jessica makes it so that there is no authority upkeep, so there's no downside to a treaties with Atreides. There's no downside to it, except of course you're giving the Atreides a little more power, right? So the Harkonnens are a little more powerful, and the Atreides are a little more powerful because they have deals together. And the Ekaz are a little more powerful, and the Atreides are a little more powerful because they have deals together. What's the thing we have in common here? It's the Atreides getting more powerful twice, and their enemies getting more powerful once by having extra trade deals between them. Interesting dynamics. I love a good free-for-all game and all the weird power shenanigans that come up with it. So good for the Atreides. That's definitely something you want to do. Get all those treaties and stuff out really early on. It's a huge economic impact. I want to see, we don't have it up yet, I want to see their diplomatic hall up that boosts their income from treaties. If you've got 2 people fully treated up with you, you need that out. It's one of the blue ones. It's escaping my mind at the moment. It gives you, basically doubles the strength of some of your treaties. Hey, thank you. Good to see you too. We're streaming some Dune today. We've got a beginners tournament. We're in the finals of it right now, and it's going great. We had a great first game, and this game looks like it's going to be pretty solid to me. Sometimes when you have just the great houses, they tend to be a slightly more peaceful. All the great houses can do just fine, kind of playing their own little solitary game, but not always. Not always. Certain people are a bit more fighty. So we'll see how that goes. Got another Landsred starting. No one's claimed the Worm Nest yet. Down south, the Harkonnens did claim the Mirror Basin, this sort of disputed spice field, but that was because the Ekaz went west instead to snap up the Well of Riches to make sure that the Carino didn't get that first. Another Landsred. Imperial Audit for some extra Landsred standing for everybody. Landsred standing's pretty low across the board, though we think it'll be climbing. Ekaz will get 14 a council, 17 a council for the Atreides. There are some pacts out and about, so that'll cause the Landsred to climb up a little faster. Imperial Missionaries is just free money, but we've got Imperial Edicts on everything to make it all factions. Carino says they don't want to bother voting on things, they just want everybody to get it or nobody to get it. So everybody gets Landsred standing and money and extra pillaging, which is good for everybody except the Atreides, who cannot pillage. Atreides are the good guys. They're not allowed to go and march in and kill the natives for money. But the Harkonnens love killing the natives for money. And honestly, so does Carino, and Ekaz kind of likes to too. There's enough space for everybody. I expect it to be fairly peaceful for some time. Army-wise, nobody's building up too much. Lobster's got the most on Ekaz with 34 command points, and indeed Whitmore Blood is already on the field, the first hero to come out. Whitmore is leads into the hedge strategy for House Ekaz. He allows them to name a second champion. He himself is a champion, so you can have 3 champions. All the champions get extra health based on the trophies, and the reason you like champions is because, does it say anywhere on here? Yeah, so champions have extra health, extra power, extra armor, and every unit that a champion kills from another faction, not in neutral units, gives Ekaz a permanent 100 extra hegemony as long as your champion's alive. So if Ekaz gets in a fight and kills the enemy army, you've got champion trophies from all those kills, and those trophies count as a ton of extra hedge. So if Ekaz get a little bit ahead, there's a chance that they can continue to snowball and keep going ahead and ahead, like more and more and more, and really sort of boom hegemony above and beyond what other people can match based on their champions getting kills. Of course, the weakness there is if you kill the champion, they lose the trophies that they've acquired. So all you gotta do is kill the Ekaz army, easy peasy, right? Sometimes it is too easy. Sometimes a worm comes up and eats your champion, which is the worst thing that can happen. But sometimes the Ekaz put themselves in a position where they're gonna win on hegemony, and if you attack them to try to stop them, if they kill your units, they're gonna win on hegemony. So it's a nice catch-22 you can kind of put people into. Ekaz doing some pillaging, Harkonnen's doing some pillaging, Atreides kind of chilling out, doing some annexing. What are our Carino friends doing? They have gone forward and grabbed the shield wall. I'm a little surprised nobody's committed to the worm nest. It would be expensive for Carino, probably. The worm nest is 240 authority to annex. But if you leave it there, eventually the Atreides are going to come get it. They haven't taken the White Rift. I think they just assume that that is a granted. Indeed, they're walking out now. They might be going to get it. The White Rift is very safely situated, so that's not much of a concern for them. I think economic opportunities are a bit limited for Carino. I wouldn't be surprised if they struggled a little bit in the money space. Carino like to build a lot of buildings. They're going to need a lot of money to upkeep those buildings. Looks like the Harkonnen's doing quite well economically, as you'd expect. They're in negative water though, so they gotta be pretty cautious. They're gonna be thirsty. They're probably negative water just from a revolt somewhere. I don't even see a revolt. Oh, there's a revolt over here. Yeah, okay. Probably negative. Harkonnens will go positive and negative a lot based on revolts. It's one of the big downsides of Harkonnen oppression is that their revolt system sometimes will make the income from a village go offline right when you need it. Like if you've got a village that's producing a lot of water for you and you're oppressing it and suddenly it revolts and you lose access to all that water. If your army was a field and suddenly you've got less water to work with, it does reduce the total supply you have to work with. Indeed, we see the Harkonnens working off of only 50 supply. So just walking to a neighboring villages and they're halfway out of supplies, they've got to make this a quick fight. Because they're already starting to water starve. Just barely. Indeed, all they can do is pillage and walk back home. Pillage will restore a little bit of supply, but they don't have enough water to really keep walking around the map and pillaging. So that's the one. You do like extra water for the Harkonnens because you would love to just range far and wide and burn down every village you encounter. But when your water is tight, no can do. Folks, I think we're in a fairly quiet game here for a while, so I am actually going to take the opportunity to run and take a quick bio break. So AFK, like 1 minute. We'll leave it sort of zoomed out in the center, and we'll be right back. All right. We're back just in time for Landsrad. House Harkonnens catch themselves a gear regulation courtesy of minor houses and some free ECAS votes. Tax negotiations go the way of ECAS, so a little extra economic boost for them. And who cares about slower statecraft development? Who would make the best sports car, the ECAS or the Harkonnens? I think almost certainly the ECAS. A good sports car is both performance and luxury too. And you want it to look cool and be cool, right? That's the whole point of having a sports car, is being cool. And nobody's cooler than the ECAS. The Harkonnens are many things, but they're not necessarily cool. Who's on each faction real quick? We've got Lobster on the ECAS, Ninja Spooter on Carino, Dinny on the Harkonnens, and Cortez on the Atreides. Carino finally broke down to the pressure and accepted the diplomatic arrangements from the Atreides, meaning the Atreides have full research agreements, trade agreements, and political agreements with every single faction in the game. Ooh, it's living the dream out there. That's going to be very nice for the Atreides. I mean, this is +2 knowledge and +2 knowledge and +2 knowledge. Trade agreements are extra Solari and then another 9% at least. This man better have a diplomatic mission. Okay, he does. The embassy. Having at least one treaty contracted with another faction grants a production bonus of 10% to its associated resource. Associated resource meaning like trade treaty is money, so you get 10% more money. Political is influence, you get 10% more influence. And research is knowledge, so you get 10% more knowledge from building your embassy. It's huge. It's huge. Huge dividends, huge stocks for the Atreides. Chome-wise, we are up to 15% on the Harkonnens, 6% on the Atreides, 7% on the Carino, and 3% on House ECAS. So like we said, there's a lot of peace, and there's peace because the map spawned with really enough territory for everybody to take a bite out of what they want. Atreides did manage to grab the worm nest up north. I told you, Carino, if you waited long enough, the Atreides will take it. We do not have a Carino base drop yet. They went south and grabbed this spice field instead. They have not grabbed the White Rift yet. So we do have at least an Emperor's Monument online, giving them a little bit of daily hedge. They're going for the 2 blue, the 1 yellow, and 3 red in their first base. Down in foliage, we've got 3 red and 3 blue. Okay, so we do have political play coming after the ECAS. Love to see it. For the Harkonnens, we've got, looks like economic play. Harkonnens are leaning into a 2 yellow and a 3 yellow, although they haven't finished their 3rd yellow yet. And they've got a 2 blue online. They're also using an embassy. We've also got an embassy for the ECAS. If they're going to be trading, they might as well do it. We don't have an embassy yet online for Carino. Carino, they wanted their research center, and then they wanted the Emperor's Monument as well for it. Pretty solid. Pretty solid. I do love the research center into the Emperor's Monument for Carino, because it doubles your Senate envoys. So you're pulling in 10 intel production and 6 influence production. It's pretty strong early in the game. But down here for foliage, we did see they have the triple blue, so they're getting plus 150 votes, meaning in the Landsrad, the ECAS are actually making the least influence despite having the most base votes. So there's still kind of parity between a lot of the factions. The Harkonnens not doing a whole lot politically, but the Atreides are making 19 influence thanks to 3 different political agreements. 13 for Carino, thanks to their Senate envoys we just talked about. 10 for the Harkonnens, just based on random stuff, it seems. So a lot of influence floating around still for people. No one's quite running away with political power. It's always cool how the faction specialties come back around to providing bonuses. Yep. You can really get some, yeah, it's hard to say. Some factions actually can play very differently based on the counselors you pick. Atreides actually, it is not at all meta, but I do love the young Paul picks. Young Paul gives them massive authority generation if they ally with Sieches, and sort of allows them to make the most authority in the game, and it's super fun. Okay, this is an annex going down. Interesting annex here, because this is sort of a shitty region. Oh no, he changed it. Okay, he's changed it to a pillage. I was like, what are you going to get from this? This region gives you 1 militia slot, 20% statecraft building resources, and has nothing in it. It wouldn't have been my first choice to annex, but no. But just a misclick. He's going back to pillaging. Yeah, Ikaz doing a pretty good job. Ikaz was piloted by Lobster, who we watched in our first game, was very capable playing on the Harkonnens. So far, it looks like he's got a decent hang of the Ikaz as well. We've got 1 sanctuary here, a 2nd sanctuary online here. Definitely room for a 3rd one to be made somewhere in this backfield. And already, actually, this is the Harkonnen main base, Carthag here. And then there's 1 village, and then we're into Ikaz lands. So Ikaz sort of perilously close to the Harkonnen main base. Ikaz, once upon a... I feel like... I'm trying to remember. Once upon a time, they were really steamrollers in the military department. It was really, really tough to break an Ikaz death ball. But I don't know if it was, you know, some final nerfs to things, or just other factions kind of getting a little better of knowing how or what to do. But I haven't seen an Ikaz steamroller in a long time. Once upon a time, the Ikaz could roll in, kill your army 100-0, and then like walk on your base and like start killing your base. And they're the knights and the various champions and things just did so much damage. It was really, really difficult to break through an elite vetted up Ikaz army. But again, those are some of the old days. I haven't seen that in a long time. I'd love to see it again. Love to see those glory days. Military investigations. Yes, spice. Spice and other things. Water Sellers Union. Infrastructure control. Infrastructure control is good for everybody. I imagine Carino probably just... Carino does have the most votes, so they could grab something all for themselves if they wanted. They could probably lock down a Water Sellers Union, which, you know, it's better than nothing. Once again, if you're the first person to win the charter, you do get that first election reward, so you get a nice payout of Solari and Landsred standing. No. Atreides managed to grab the Water Sellers Union. I guess Carino probably wasn't eligible for it at the time. It looks like maybe only the Harkonnens and the Atreides were. Carino then instead locks up the infrastructure control. What did Ikaz do? Ikaz spent they kind of spread stuff around. They gave themselves 100 votes here and 200 votes here and got nothing instead. Focus, Ikaz, focus. Put all your things on one. And the military developments are a little slower, but I gotta think people have got military tech by now. Pretty good tech across the board. Nice blend for the Ikaz. Carino a little bit behind in the red tech. That's gonna... But he's not really under too much danger. He's going deep into geothermal condensers and chome manipulation. Heavy eco play, and eventually, of course, picking up the valuable trinkets. Harkonnens, little bit of everything, pretty standard. They are trying to pick up red tech now. Everyone's kind of coming around to red tech, and it's minus 50% slower at the moment. So that's not ideal. You kind of want to swap off that, but it sucks to swap off it when it's actually when you want it. Ooh. The Atreides, with the uber greed play, have literally no red tech. Interesting. Deep in the blues, and a fair bit of green and a fair bit of yellow, but no red technology. Wow, wow. They've got valuable trinkets online, cultural assimilation for the fast annexing, sustainable spying is up. That's pretty good with Thurfer Howitt. Atreides rocking some good agents in here. I wish there was like I would love it if like the information level maybe gave you like a little readout of everything of all the resources that your agents were producing. A man can dream, if only. Because this one's like a psychologist and an intendant, but they're also making extra because we've got Thurfer Howitt, who agents have an additional trait. And then we've got the sustainable spying. Agents assigned produce plus 50% of their associated resources. Like, it allows Thurfer Howitt on the Atreides with sustainable spying allow your agents actually to be a pretty reasonable source of a lot of income and resources. Here it is. So 30 Solari here. an extra 3 authority here. This guy's making 2 manpower. This guy's are making 4 influence. Not too bad. As well as whatever else we're getting. Extra plascrete based on global information levels. Extra Solari. Percent is increased per information level. All kinds of stuff. Suffice to say, the Atreides want lots more agents, and they really, really don't want anyone to fight them for a while, because the red tree is it's gonna be branchless for a while. It's withering. Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible times if the ECAS ever actually loses their army. So, on one hand, you like to be like skirmishing and fighting and getting some kills to build up some champion trophies, and on the other hand, you really don't want to lose anyone in skirmishes. You want everybody to be like getting experience from pillaging or something else. You want to just roll into the end game and have everybody be a perfected version of themselves with full experience levels, so that you're just this invulnerable monolith that no one can stop. But if you do get stopped, then it's going to take you 3 years to rebuild all your men. Ugh, pain and suffering. We do have Fremen scientists allied by the ECAS down here, giving them an extra 4 knowledge. This region is not captured, so they can't ally these guys, but there is the tool makers here. All building upkeep is reduced by 20%. That's fairly significant. If we look at ECAS resources, their building upkeep is, it's broken out per building, but it's a lot, right? It's 100, 200, 300, 380-ish that they're spending on upkeep. So if you drop 20% of that, that's an extra, it's almost 80 Solari itself, daily upkeep, if you just made that alliance. That might even be more valuable than keeping the sanctuary there. But the sanctuary is juicing our other traits, which also, you got to kind of play into. There's a lot going on. It's complicated, all right? Oh my god, look at this. This building gives you extra 10 Solari times 3, but you didn't build any buildings in it. Don't you want 30 more Solari for free? But by building buildings that you already kind of want. Maybe not. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to remember. And we got to remember that this is also not his first pick. This was a second pick for Lobster, so he might be a little off his game, off his game plan at the very least. We are also off pick on, who was it? I think Denny was first. I think Cortez had his pick. Someone, Ninja Spooter? No, I'm confused. First pick was Denny, and he took Harkonnens. Second pick was Lobster, who took ECAS. Third was Cortez, who took Atreides, and I think Ninja Spooter wanted to be ECAS and then had to be Carino, so he is also off pick as well, I think. We still don't have a base drop from Carino, and we've talked about it. There's not really a good place to drop a base. Faction summary wise, all right, Atreides have started cooking. 29 daily hedge for Atreides. They're also sitting at just slightly under the most hedge. ECAS are a little bit ahead based on territory and stuff that they've gathered, but the Atreides are the first to get the craft workshops online. And Chome's looking interesting too. 7%, 7%, 7%, but then the Harkonnens at 25%. Now, it's good news for the lobby that everybody else is at least at 7%. That means that everyone's doing a little bit to buy some Chome and keep the share prices up, so it's not quite so easy peasy for the Harks. The Harks are leading economically, but not to an outrageous degree. We'll take a little more look at the economics in a minute here. We've got a Landsrad. Chome contracts. Everybody gets some extra shares. Speaker of the Council comes up. Speaker of the Council is huge, and the only one available or eligible for it is the Atreides. So your choices are Atreides or nobody. Agenda contracts don't really matter at all. Interesting that Speaker of the Council came up. I wonder if he upvoted it. That would be an absolute pro play if he did. Most votes slightly in favor of House ECAS, but very closely followed by House Atreides. ECAS has about 550 Is that true? 551, and House Atreides has 550. So very close indeed. House Carino has 500. House Harkonnen has 500. So plenty of votes for people to swing things one way or another. Oh, Atreides gets it. There must have been some wheeling and dealing, because House Ekaz was convinced to throw their weight behind the Atreides to lock it down. No, he says misclick. Oh no! He wanted to vote for himself. Or, no, not himself. He wasn't eligible. He wanted to cancel it, but he voted for it. He could have canceled it for sure. His would have been enough to swing it, because Carino put votes in it. Instead, they gave Speaker of the Council to the Atreides. Ooh, that's not so good, Lobster. Not so good. I wouldn't have done that. I mean, I have done that. I have misclicked and sent it the wrong way. That certainly happens. There's a lot going through your brain when you're in the midst of this sort of thing, but not so good. We didn't have political art quite online for the ECAS. Oh, again, they couldn't have won it for themselves. All they could have done is denied it to the Atreides, which they didn't. So it could come up again. The Atreides could lose it if Speaker of the Council comes up again as a charter for voting. Someone else could get it. And indeed, we see somebody came in and upvoted charter priority again. So the very next Landsrad, Speaker of the Council will be up for vote again, because probably ECAS, in a fit of pique, came back in and upvoted it to give another shot at that. That's funny. We still have peace reigning throughout the land. Well, not entirely. I mean, technically the Harkonnens are at war with Carino, but there's at least 2 empty open deserts between them. There's not really any way for them to get to each other. So we're having a very peaceful... the great houses are doing a little bit of scheming and backstabbing behind the scenes. So the ECAS did put non-aggression and research agreement with the Harkonnens, and non-aggression and trade agreement with the Carino. So everybody is peacefully marching on towards an end game state here, sooner rather than later. Make sure to play Dune sober. Yeah, that's true. Like I said, there's a lot going on. It's very easy to be thinking about, something else, and you're like, okay, this Landsrad comes up, you drag all your votes one way, and you close it, and you go do something else, and you're like, shit, I clicked the wrong one. It happens to everyone. It's surprising how common it happens. Once upon a time, is it true? I think once upon a time, yeah, in the early days of Dune Spice Wars, the game didn't pause for the Landsrad. So it would be like, voting is open on Landsrad, you've got like 5 days to log your votes or whatever. And you needed to actually go into the Landsrad panel and log your votes and read what you're going to do and click through what you're going to do while the game is still running out here. So if you were in a tough battle, you might completely miss the Landsrad. It might start and be gone before you even open it up to look at it. And one of the very contentious points of the game is the developers made it so the Landsrad now pauses the game, and everybody needs to actually you take time to read what's going to happen and react to it. And for a long time, some people were like, this is great, now I can actually interact with this mechanic that I never had the APM to do before. And other people were like, no, it ruins the game to pause it in between stuff, it screws up the tempo. It lets people stop and gather their thoughts, when the whole point is that we were punishing their attention span, trying to overwhelm what they're able to do, because that's what we were doing in the war. And it was a whole brouhaha in the early Dune Spice Wars community. But these days, it pauses for you, and you get a chance to read and look. So absolutely no excuse for screwing up and voting the wrong way. Look at this chunky army. And, okay, maybe not chunky. Spicy? It's a spicy army? Denny's asks for a 2-minute pause. Totally reasonable. Man might have to pee. I know how that goes. The Harkonnen army is currently 20 gunners and 1 executioner led by Raban. It is a DPS centric force. They will put out a lot of damage, we'll put it that way. But they've got no armor, 360 health. And I assume, if we check out the armory, They lose any health above 75% at the start of combat. That's because they gain power based on their missing amount of health. So they have built in, they start the combat with 25% of their health gone so that they get a little boost to the damage. It is the pure glass cannon build for the Harkonnens, and it can kill anything. However, it is also killed by anything. It's interesting. We'll see what happens once it comes to fisticuffs. The Atreides, meanwhile, haven't even built an army. 40 of 40. They are kind of... I'm surprised they went army logistics. I'm surprised they went mechanization, because lordy lord, they need military propaganda as soon as possible, and it's going to be 4 days to get this, then 6 days to get that, then it's going to be 8 days to get that, and it's going to be 11 days to get that, so 10... 18, 29, so it's a month away before they could even get to maximum command points. I suppose they've judged the lobby as a very peaceful one, and it is fortunate that they have done so, because just about anybody could come and kick their teeth in, no questions asked. The Atreides have nothing they could do. They could have Jessica sue for peace, which actually would be pretty effective in this lobby. Because these are all great houses, nobody is super eager to betray treaties. You don't have the likes of a Fremen who just tears your paper up and spits on it. Well, they wouldn't spit on it; they would save the water. Who tears up your paper and throws it in the sand, and then continues killing you anyways. Renegade base being cleaned up by Carino. Someone dropped a decoy thumper here, just to be a little cheeky. And funny enough, the Carinos actually having a little bit of a struggle with this. The Renegade base has proven rather staunch. Oh, a worm comes up, takes his pound of flesh there. And the water is empty. Oh my good God, I think Carino lost the fight against the Renegades. Ooh, it's hard to watch, folks. It's tough to see. That is a wiped Carino army, courtesy of a Renegade base. Someone dropped a decoy thumper to summon sandworms to the area, and it did pop up. I think it just ate like one conscript. It wasn't that bad, but maybe it made him feel like he couldn't retreat. Maybe he wasn't paying attention. But that is 55 command points of dead Carino army. When Sissia is now being trained, I think that means she died there. And that a bunch of Sardaukar are in the pipe. Carino lost the battle to the Renegade base, says the spectator. Yes, it was a hard one. It was a hard one to watch. Poor Ninja Spooter. A bit of a blunder. A bit of a blunder. You get those. When they're beginner's game, it's easy to misjudge things. By all accounts, Renegade base is actually surprisingly tanky. 10 units in them. 5 Renegade units. 3 of the drones, which are a little harder to kill. They have quite a lot of hit points. And 2 of the demolitionists. While in combat, nearby unit deaths heal them, and they also do a little bit of AoE damage, I think. They can be difficult to fight. It's a lot to burn through. And as we saw, Carino was not able to burn through fast enough and had a pretty disastrous showing there. Ikaz's army mostly sitting at home. They did manage to take They did manage to take the Polar Sink, and they immediately made it a garden. A Polar Sink garden. Beautiful. Father, the tigers are beautiful. Now the land's right up. Come back to the land's right in a minute. So the garden in the Polar Sink allows them to... It's basically they can dedicate one region. The gardens are better if they're dedicated when they're adjacent to sanctuaries they've set up. But you can also just ignore that. They give 2 knowledge per adjacent sanctuary. They also give extra influence per adjacent masterpieces built in this region and any of the adjacent regions that have any masterpieces in them. But they make it so if another faction even like clicks on this village to attack it, then they lose 100 Landsrad standing and 100 authority. Isn't that wild? Just attacking them, you lose Landsrad standing and authority, both of which are very finite resources, not easy to juice up. So it does make that it's a strong incentive to not attack. Let's put it that way. All right, Council's online. Trial the Great Houses to lose a bit more Landsred standing, though everybody's quite flush with Landsred standing because the whole world's been at peace for the whole time. Speaker of the Council is back. We'll see if everybody remembers to vote the right way this time. And Labor Rights is online. Nobody likes Labor Rights, but it's not too debilitating. Speaker of the Council gets nabbed by House Carino this time, courtesy of Ekaz's help. I wonder if Ekaz intended to do that one, because they could have voted for themselves. Ekaz and Carino vote for Carino. Carino is the new Speaker of the House. Trial of the Great Houses was opposed by the Atreides. They didn't want to lose any of their standing, apparently. And Labor Rights gets stuck on the Harkonnens via everybody but the Harkonnens. Okay. There's some concern about the Harkonnens' economic power, and indeed the Harkonnens are up to 30%. I think 50% is pretty out of reach from what I see for the Harkonnens, but 30% feels nice. And obviously everybody is kind of upset about that, so they're not. They're starting to put a little bit of stink on the Harkonnens' economy. They're making some good spice money though. 352 spice a day at a full sell rate into 3.1. That's not too shabby. Harkonnens are on 4 spice. Atreides are on 4 spice, but the Atreides also have a worm nest to work with, so they're on even a little bit more. But the Atreides really aren't able to, do that proper slave labor gathering, that the oppression that the Harkonnens are able to squeeze out. I mean, look, this one field here is making 70 spice. This field here is making 170 spice. Good golly. That's so much spice. And then down here, this one's putting out 59. And then 114 over on this one. Wow. So yeah, some pretty decent economic work from everybody, actually. Nobody's doing too badly. I guess maybe the Ekaz aren't quite pulling up as much as we'd hope. They only managed to secure these 2 spice fields because they lost the southern one to the Harkonnens. So only 2 spice in the Ekaz is a bit of an economic blow. They do have the Well of Riches though, which is quite nice. Well of Riches making them 58 Solari a day. That's not too bad. What is going on over here? 90 Solari a day. Ooh, I love it. They've got the bartering customs. +3 Solari per economic building. So they've just made 4 masterpieces, which each count as 2 buildings. And then they're juiced because it's adjacent to 2 sanctuaries. So there's 3 times that. So they're making 90 a day and paying 3 Solari for upkeep to keep it going. Wow, fantastic. That's the dream. The dream state for Ekaz is always getting these sort of +3 production per building type, and then you juice it up with the masterpieces. Very nice indeed. It's a very, very cool way to make a huge economic impact as the Ekaz. Sometimes if you see the Ekaz get enough good quirks like that in their lands, I've seen Ekaz straight up, balls to the wall with Chom share to victory. I mean, that's not happening in this game, but that certainly is a very nice boon for them to stay in it economically when they're only stuck on 2 spice fields. We're seeing some people move around. We've got, I don't know why an Atreides army is down here, but we're headed into some end game hegemony as the 20,000 mark has been crossed by the Atreides and the Ekaz. That was spice tax was just paid, and rates at 1.8 is not too great. It's going to move to 2.2, which is pretty decent. Yeah. I think we got probably a peaceful while to go. I don't see a lot of impetus for combat. Everybody, sometimes what you see, what is this? Is someone marking stuff? Sometimes what you see in lobbies like this is people feeling the pressure of being in a finals lobby, a grand finals lobby, and not wanting to stick their neck out too far one way or another. We do, however, have an Ekaz force down south. Ekaz juiced up 65 to 65. So are the Harkonnens, though they've got the gunner army. And we have a much more balanced Ekaz army. 5 squires, 4 musketeers, 1 fencer, 2 warbanders, 3 knights, and a monument online. Oh, Oh, we got Harkonnens are in trouble. War up north. Harkonnens are battling with the Atreides. At the same time, base dropped by Carino in the middle. The Atreides are getting fended off. Of course they are. They only have 17 of 55 command points. Down south, I assume, nothing yet from the ECAS. Carino posturing in ECAS territory at the moment here. I don't know. Were they trying to go for the spice field? I don't know where the ECAS are. The Carino's confused. The Carino army is very confused. I think they're struggling with pathing. They were trying to get up to this spice field, and their army got like a little split because they didn't want to go through the canyon. I don't know what's going on. The Harkonnen army, the gunners managed to clean up the Atreides army. Atreides, I think they just didn't have enough command points. They're not up to 65 yet, so very foolish to engage. Harkonnens are flying. Where are they going? Still no ECAS in yet. We do have a worm strike. Eats 5 of the command points from Carino. In come the Harkonnens, and it's going to be a massacre, I think. I think the Harkonnens are going to clean this up because they've got militia actually to tank in the front line for them, allowing their gunners to do the hard work. Yep, it is a massacre. The Carino army is out of water and torn apart. The Harkonnen militia was able to be the front line there because the Carino started the fight, allowing the gunners to come in behind and do that massive DPS. And now, all too late. The ECAS have pushed in the down south, but all everybody has done, the alliance against the Harkonnens, have allowed the Harkonnens to take 3 different 1v1 fights. Although this one might go a little different. I don't know how favored for this is for the Harkonnens. A lot of gunners are going down quite quick, but they're cutting out a lot of ECAS units too. We're seeing some much better focus fire. Don't walk around too much. Yep. It looks much good. The ECAS beef is able to tank some of that Harkonnen damage, and the Harkonnens, by flying right on top of the ECAS army, it was a bad landing from the airfield. They basically landed right into melee range, allowing the squires and the knights to immediately be on top of the gunners, and the gunners are we talked about, are so fragile. They'll go down real easy if you could just put some damage on them before they kill you. Loss of rights is up. Only people that have any rights are Carino Speaker and Atreides Waterseller. Speaker of the Council itself is up again. And controlled markets. I'm a little surprised the Harkonnens are catching a 3v1 here, although they've handled it quite well. I think the ECAS are going to clean up this southern battle, though. There's still some stuff ticking there. Whitmore Blood is up to 5 trophies. He's doing a hell of a job here. I don't think there's any other ECAS champions on the field. If there were, they got shot dead. It does look like they're maybe focus firing Whitmore now, which is, I think, the wrong move. Whitmore is extraordinarily tanky. 1,600 hit points, 9 armor. Raban is at 800 hit points, 15 armor. That's pretty tanky too, but all these gunners are going to get cleaned up. They're just too squishy. You see, as soon as the ECAS walk to them, they're dead. Raban's running. It is a nice pickup. We're up to 7 trophies for Whitmore Blood. 9 trophies for Whitmore. Alright, not too bad. ECAS takes the victory. They have some losses. They've already got, they're down to 55 command points. That's with another 15 already a pipe or so. But full wipe on the Harkonnens, basically. Raban did manage to escape, which is nice. Imagine if the Atreides and Carino were a little more coordinated. I mean, I think the Harkonnens maybe dropped some of their defensive operations during those first 2 fights. Sleepers would have been really useful down here against the ECAS. I think a better engagement would have been a little more useful. If you've got ranged units, you want to start a little further away. And it's dangerous to be out in the sand, but you don't want the knights to be in melee with your gunners for sure. The knights do an outrageous 53 power attack, 5 speed. It's just an insane amount of damage they put out if they can get to you. They tend to be fairly squishy, but Harkonnens didn't hear no bell. They're back for another. I did like that. Their reinforcements sort of landed from the sky just as other reinforcements rallied in. Critical. I was gonna say critical blunder, but it wasn't even. There was no airfield here. Oof. Whitmore, are you gonna make it? Can you solo this guy? Of course you can. Go, Whitmore. Oh, he loses to the sleeper agent. Devastating. That's actually pretty bad. Credit to Dinny. Did a nice job there rebuilding. That's the strength of the Harkonnens, especially with Uman Kudu with a 30% faster recruitment time. The ECAS are very slow to refill their losses, and the Harkonnens are very fast to refill theirs. However, though that was a successful defense on all fronts for the Harkonnens, there is still an Imperial base adjacent to a Harkonnen base, which is not what you want. A very bold base drop here, to say the least. Very, very bold. Now, the Harkonnens, especially with a gunner force, are actually quite good at busting bases. The Harkonnens are busting. Interesting. We do have we're back to sort of a multipolar game. Even though that was a very good defense for the Harkonnens, I don't feel like they're running away in anything. They're back up to 36%, I guess. I don't know where they're getting all these shares from. Atreides up to 18%, 10% ECAS, 9% Carino. So the Harks are buying. Prices are steep. 428 a share. Buying 20 shares is just shy of 9,000 Solari. I mean, the Harkonnens are making 1,000 a day, which is quite good, but Atreides are making 700 a day. Ooh, Carino is in the red, negative 130. They actually they flew their army away from the front lines because they have to go pillage things. They're economically weak. It looks like maybe they lost this territory up here to a rebellion and then renegades dropped on it. It's under renegade control. I thought that was Carino territory. Maybe they never had that. I don't know. But regardless, there's renegade. Carino's suffering up there. Atreides poking in, but what the hell are they doing? 44 command points out of 55. They've got no business fighting down here. Why are they at 55? They're at 55 because they still don't have military propaganda. Oh my god, this is literally the most important technology in the entire tech tree. Military propaganda, because it gives you extra command points. And without the same command point that everybody else has, you cannot contest a battle. You cannot win a fight. No matter what kind of general you are, 55 command points loses to 65 command points 95% of the time or more. Atreides are a wet noodle until they get that extra command point tech. Unheard of to be 6 months in and not have it, especially if you're already like marching to war. I fear for this Imperial base. I don't think any allies are going to come to its aid, and I think I don't know if a mass of Cerberuses is the way to do it. Maybe. Gunners can burn it down very, very quickly from range. You just need something to eat the missile battery coming out of the main base, and that could be ideally that's like a spaceship, your mothership. But if you don't have a mothership, then the next best thing is just some tanky military units that are carefully microed. We're at 57 guild favor for the Harkonnens, so we're a ways off of a mothership. The mothership for the ECAS did go down in that last fight, and we do have the Kronos mothership, the big ship, online for Carino. Unfortunately, it's terrible at shooting ground units. It does flying enemy units at long range receive a little extra damage. It's a terrible bonus. Nobody makes flying units anymore. I don't know. It's a little. We are seeing a rebuilt Atreides army. They're up to almost 55 command points. Everybody else is maxed out for the most part. A few extra ECAS units in training queue. I'm somewhat surprised that the Harks haven't bum rushed the Imperial base yet. What are we looking resource-wise? ECAS absolutely drained on manpower, but they have a good income. 39 is quite good. Good manpower available for Carino, and they're in the green again. I wonder if they ended up selling shares or something, or if they just got that from pillaging. They are still pillaging back home. I think they did burn down at least one renegade base. That's probably where they got their money from. I mean, it could go. It could go. Ooh, Dune governorship is online. I was gonna say it could go to a Chom if things drag out. We are slowly itching towards hegemony, but slowly being the key term there. Most votes here technically for ECAS. ECAS does not have political art online though, and they won't have enough time to research it. It would take them 18 days and then 28 days to get up there. So they do not have the political lock online, even if they did win governorship, which I would not expect them to. How did they get Speaker of the Council? They must have picked it up the last Landsrad when it got, when it was up, and also loss of rights was up. I don't know, some crazy stuff. I think maybe I clicked off of that and didn't look back at what happened. Dune governorship, right? It's got to be... They're got to vote it into Atreides, which means Carino and Harkonnen and Atreides all vote for the Atreides, and then they just plan to kick Atreides out of it later. Because right now because Atreides and ECAS are both eligible for it, so we have to end up with one of them getting it. Very interesting. Landsrad support gives you some Punishers. It would be really, I mean, I guess the Harkonnens, like unironically, for like maybe the first time and ever in history, would really love Landsrad support for Punishers. Punishers would be great for cracking that Carino base that is literally right next to him. Punishers do some sick base damage. Nope, Carino grabbed it themselves because they did not want to get punished. Atreides get that there. ECAS didn't even spend their votes. They've opted just to grab the assassins and to save up their influence. We technically have a House Atreides doing governorship. Immediately, a massive influence is dumped into the charter priority to ensure that Dune governorship comes up again for vote. Of course, you would expect that. What Atreides would love is to use their own influence to dump into something else. I don't know if they are. If the Atreides could spend... They're getting 33 influence. That's an insane amount. If the Atreides could use their insane influence and they keep upping priorities of another charter, like if they could get Eye of the Council with its charter priority above Dune governorship, it's possible that Dune governorship doesn't even come up again for a vote, and they wouldn't even have a chance to kick them out of it. In which case, Atreides would probably have an easy peasy lock. I don't know if loss of rights would come up again, because it did just come up one or two Landsrads, 1 or 2 councils ago. It came up. I think there's there's some sort of internal cooldown on how often the same thing could come up again, right? I'm not entirely certain of that. There's some crazy behind the scenes shenanigans about, based on the state of the game, waiting what kind of resolutions come up in the council. I don't know. This feels a bit tenuous to me, though. Like, I'm not certain, and it doesn't look like the Atreides are investing in that plan. They should. They should be dumping all of this considerable influence income into Eye of the Council. It's conceivable the rest of the lobby, if they were paying attention, could still overwhelm them and stop that from happening, but it is only if the rest of the lobby is paying attention to that gambit happening. It's totally reasonable that the people might open this up and say, okay, Dune governorship's at 400, it'll come up next, that's good, we don't gotta look at it again. And then boom, Atreides come in later and they upvote Eye of the Council up above it, and nobody even realizes that was happening unless you've been opening your Landsred panel and paying attention to it. We got a lot of armies marching around. ECAS in the middle, Harkonnen's in the middle, in come Carino. Atreides kind of staying home at the moment. They're spread out a little bit. They're trying to fight some rebellions. Nope, that's just militia. I don't know what the Atreides are doing. In come ECAS, marching on the Hark spice fields. Harkonnen's at 37%. That is fairly dangerous. They only have a bank of 9k. Atreides are sitting on a 14k bank. Oh my goodness. Atreides have opted for peace with the Harkonnens. Are there some schemes at play here? We're not seeing any political scheme. I mean, unless the Atreides are just trying to bank up enough votes to try to keep it for themselves, which they can't. They won't be able to do that. They might have been able to bank up enough votes to upvote something else, but they're not going with that strategy. Doing a trade agreement with the person who is choming is madness, though. Absolute madness. Tantamount to a betrayal of the rest of the lobby. Atreides could be buying... Atreides are at 20%. Are you buying shares, Atreides? No, they haven't bought shares in a while. They're sitting on a huge bank. They're sitting on more than the Harkonnens have. Harkonnens bought up to 39%. They just recently bought a whole bunch of shares. The Atreides sitting on 17,000 reserves, making almost as much as the Harkonnens, so I feel like the Atreides could probably muscle out the Harks from being able to get a victory in the Chom market. Whatever Ekaz was trying there, it looks like they've backed off. Did stuff die? No. They just left. Carino's there. Harkonnens are there. Atreides are all back home. Atreides think they can make this governorship thing work for themselves. Harks are marching out. The Kronos is actually exposed. They might try and get a cheeky snipe on the flagship here. Where are the... He's veering away at the last second, maybe. You gotta watch out. These gunners will make quick work of a flagship, my friends. Harks are marching out to meet them. Bold, to say the least. I don't know, Harks. This is bad. He's trying to get a snipe on Whitmore? No, Whitmore already died. He doesn't have any trophies. Okay, they walked past the garden because they don't want to attack the garden. Ooh, they're taking too much damage from all the missile turrets. The Hark army is going to get wrecked here. Absolutely, the Hark is going to get wrecked. 1,000,000%. These missile turrets alone are going to kill them all. Ekaz cleaning that up. Carino flying north to the Atreides. Is that a Carino backstab going down? Actually looks like the Harks might be cleaning up here somehow. We do have a betrayal. Carino flies onto the Atreides base, but the Atreides army was keen to this happening and they have already been sitting at home. So a base snipe is not going down. Rather, we have a base battle. The defense breaches were dropped. It's not going great for the Atreides. Who are they focusing on? I think they're trying to kill Duncan, who was an absolute raid boss. It's not going great for Carino. There was a good chance of Carino being able to do that if the Atreides army wasn't there. I think the Ekaz are wiped and they get an admin burden, so they won't ever be able to make an army ever again. But the Harkonnens are wiped as well, so they do need to remake their army. Carino is winning this fight, but too slowly, and they're going to end up getting wiped out up here. They're not accomplishing enough. They do have the Kronos up here now, so they could drop in more reinforcements. A supply drop goes down. Whose supply drop? The wrong supply drop? Because it's not the Carino supply drop. Their men are starving. We do have a bit of a thing going on here. Speaker of the Council is choosing the agenda. That would be House Ekaz. And it is Dune governorship up again. I think Atreides missed out on an opportunity. They had 600 influence they could have pumped into something else to try to up charter priority. I think that would have been a game-winning play if they had done that. But portfolio scrutiny, so no share buying. Ekaz are at 28.1k hedge, though. That's so much. Oof. They don't really have anything else they can cap in their backfield, though, and they don't have any army that can do it. They're still rebuilding, and it's going to be a while because at least they were admin burdened. Dune governorship, so they can vote. They can vote this. Atreides can only put in 750 votes. Meanwhile, Ekaz is 500, Harkonnens have 500. They could do another 170. Carino did a proper betrayal attack. Oh my goodness, the lobby was not on the same page, and House Atreides is able to hold it. Carino don't put their votes in enough. Harkonnens put too much on portfolio scrutiny and they allow the Atreides to hold it. The Harkonnens didn't want to cancel the buying of shares, and they're let House Atreides hold governorship. House Atreides wins in 8 days. Dinny says, what the fuck? Dinny, you're the one who did it. Dinny got greedy, and he put his votes over here to oppose the scrutiny. Although Ekaz got greedy, and they put their votes over here to support the scrutiny too. Ekaz and Harkonnens got greedy, and they both allow the Atreides to squeak it out. Feels bad, boys. Feels bad. Harkonnens are marching north. You guys have 7 days to base kill this Atreides. 29.4 on the Ekaz. Can Ekaz get one annex, actually? The Ekaz are very, very close. We're still 21 days out from a spice tax. They can't annex. That's got a renegade base on it. That's got a renegade base on it. Their armies aren't big enough to defeat the renegades. Oh, if Ekaz could take one territory, they would win the game. But they have 5 days to do it, and they don't have enough army to beat a renegade. And they don't have enough time to take another faction's territory. And the Harkonnens are there. Oh, Harkonnens up to 41%. They're not going to have enough time to chome. The Ekaz are so close, actually, on hedge. 62 a day. That's crazy. 4 days is not enough time, though. They need 10 days or so. Oh man, it's going to be razor thin. Do they have a quest that they could get? How else can you pull up some more hedge? You need to get some hedge out of thin air. The Harkonnens are marching north in a last desperate gambit. Carino sitting back, resigned to his fate. Harkonnens are going out in a blaze of glory. Income an orbital strike from Carino to try to help out, but it's too little, too late. I think the Dune governorship is going to tick through unless Ekaz can find a miracle extra 200 hedge from somewhere, and I don't think they can. Their army is too small. I don't know why they're not fighting for it. Do they not have the resources? They might not have authority? No, only 119 authority, so even if they could clear out one of these outposts, they don't have enough authority to actually annex it, and those are the only two open regions on the whole map. The Atreides clean up the base. I told you it felt a little dicey giving governorship to the Atreides there. You gotta be really coordinated to make sure you then take it away from them, and the lobby was not coordinated. There was dissension in the ranks. We saw both the Harkonnens tried to cancel portfolio scrutiny, they tried to sneak that through, and the Ekaz tried to sneak through passing portfolio scrutiny. And the greed of these two men sickens me. It sickens me, for they allow the House Atreides with only 750 votes to lock down Dune governorship. And there it is. Dune governorship throughout the land. Who was that? That was Cortez. Cortez 6363 is our new Dune Spice Wars, the Circuit Summer Beginners Champion. A round of applause. Yay! Woo, yay! Sickening greed. Indeed, indeed. You want to sneak things through? Oh, look how close it was, though. You want to sneak things through on your enemies, but sometimes you're just sneaking things through on yourself. Ekaz with a massive hedge gain made it to 29,882. Oh my god, that's so close. So they were like 2 days off of passive hedge gain into victory, or if they had just kept one champion alive that had like two trophies kills, Ekaz would have won it out on hedge, even ahead of the inevitable Atreides victory there. Harkonnen's up to 41%, but that last 10% would have been a bear. They were basically broke. I think stocks were very expensive at this point in time. Ooh, 580 for a single share, so you're looking at, you know, like 11,000 Solari for 20 shares. Yeah, that's a bit too much to push into a quick end game victory. Pretty good. That actually that started slow. It started slow, but it really picked up for us there at the end. Very fun, very interesting game to play. I gotta say, it gave me a little bit of itch. A little bit of an itch. Maybe I want to try that sort of thing again. Maybe I could play the Ekaz and they wouldn't all die and never be able to remake their army. Maybe it would be different if I did it. Probably not. Probably not. The Atreides looked pretty solid, and you know what? We didn't even see the Atreides force pieces on anybody. I guess the only real trouble they had was the very end when Carino dove on their base, and they read the situation appropriately, and they were there, ready to watch, ready and waiting for Carino when they arrived. Otherwise, that Carino army with the defense breaches, if the Atreides army had been caught out of position, that Carino army absolutely could have killed that base, and it would have been cool as fuck if it had happened. But oh well. Oh well. All right, there we go. Wow, quick day. Quick day. We're only a couple hours into the stream, 3.5 hours, but there we go. Yeah, it was very close. If Ikaz had saved Whitmore when the Harks attacked the pole, yep, it's true. It's true. Whitmore still alive, and then there's a horrible. If one of your champions dies, there's a horrible debuff of like 15 or 20 days before you're able to like dub another unit as a new champion. So a champion died. He was probably on cooldown. Whitmore died. He just needed another 1 or 2 trophies, and it would have swung the whole game. Ooh, you know, credit to the. I don't know about credit to the Harkonnens. They almost threw the game to Ikaz there when they dived into the center mass. Like, I don't know what the Harkonnens were doing over here other than feeding trophies to the Ikaz, but they somehow defeated the Ikaz army here even. I don't quite know how that happened, but then they all died. They didn't accomplish anything other than killing the Ikaz forces, but maybe that's what they were trying to accomplish. They were just trying to dive onto Ikaz champions to kill them. Maybe. I don't know. They killed him. Crazy game. Look at all these things. Victory by governorship for Cortez. Pretty wild. Wow. Okay, I think that's it. I think that's all we got for today, folks. Whoop. Excuse me. No, I'll knock something off my desk. I think that's all we got today. I think that's plenty of Dune Spice Wars. I had a good time. Great plays, everybody. That was fun to watch. Cream says, watch the VODs, see where you went right and where you went wrong. There's a lot of opportunities for learning, for sure. The Imperial base drop was a wild one. However, immediately getting your army shit-canned after that drop was less good. Losing to the outpost with your army, not good. Don't do that. Did the Atreides ever hit 65 command points? Yes, they eventually did by the end of the game. Don't get to the end of the game without getting the tech that gives you 65 command points. The Harkonnens were fun. I think the mass gunner strategy was, it obviously got some work done. That was fun. I would have liked to see them try and bust the Carino base. That would have at least been even extra entertaining. Ikaz, I mean, the only real concern I have for them is, probably don't beat Ikaz because they're not very good. It's just so hard when to lose an army and not be able to rebuild it. It's very, very tough. Yeah. All right, there we go. Fun game. We were closing in on some legendary opportunities all around there, but it stopped a little short of legendary again due to the sickening greed of these players. What greed for the Atreides to basically not have an army the entire game, but then somehow suddenly have an army at the only time it actually matters. So I suppose greed is good when it pays off, but it only paid off again because 300 votes from Harkonnens would have swung it away from the Atreides. 300 votes from the Ikaz would have swung it away from the Atreides. And certainly for Lobster and the Ikaz, in retrospect, who cares about Chom? All you needed was 2 more days and you won the game off of passive hedge, and you put extra votes into trying to slow down the Chom buying. I mean, the game is an easy shoo-in for the Ikaz. All they gotta do is sit still and do nothing. If they don't let Atreides hold governorship for that second vote. Ooh, that's maybe the easiest linchpin to swing the whole game around on. Feels bad. But it's all right. Lobster did great. He played really well. We were quite impressed with his play. His first game was great. His second game on Ikaz was quite good there. He was a contender up to the very last second. Just 2 days out from victory on it. What more can we say? I guess we won't belabor the point. Thanks for watching, folks. That's our show. Thanks for hanging out. I'll try to get around and do some more content. I know I've been leaving you boys up high and dry. If you appreciate hanging out and hearing to me yap about things, will be more Dune Spice Wars in the future. Not a ton of it, because I don't play it on the reg too much. If the stuff that I play on the regular will probably be other games. So if I had to make more content, there'll probably be other games. I like a lot of Bar, play a lot of Beyond All Reason these days, play a lot of Company of Heroes these days, and a lot of other stuff. If I can work up the impetus to make some content on that stuff, you might get some of that to look at. Keep your eyes peeled if that sounds interesting to you, or if you just like some Spice Wars, we'll be back for some Spice Wars before too long. Thanks for watching, folks. Have a great one. I appreciate you spending your time with me this day, and we'll catch you next time on Arrakis with Dune Spice Wars.